Good morning, it's 8:31 a.m. and we are here for Commissioner consent agenda review. Were there any consent agenda items that jumped out at either of you?
No, we don't have any walk-ons either, do we?
Not yet.
I think the only one that we talked about yesterday was that one for the veterans. Trying to find some funding from Hope Source or Renew.
Renew. But Hope Source might have some money for us, they can get their hands on.
That 10-year lease agreement was a little bit,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that one.
I'm not real happy with that, but
I would not do that if it was
well, no, that
me.
man, we're on that lease.
Which one are you talking about?
41 pages long. The one for Renew.
Oh, 17, item number 17.
Alberg is an attorney.
It's got everything in there.
Yeah, that's.
But it's crazy with Renew where they can pay rent, but they can't.
I mean, we could charge them rent.
Put something up, build their own building, put something up. Well, and Delta did say that if you did the 5-year, they wouldn't have the build out. I don't know how much the build out would cost,
I don't know what they gave him, looks like.
but at $14,000 a month.
$80 a square foot for their build out, I think is what it said.
And then it was gonna be 30 for 5 years. Do you remember? I didn't write down what he said for 5 years.
Well, the lease amount goes up every year.
Do you recall how big the building was?
Thought it was 7,000.
7,000, but it's 14,000 a month, okay.
They're only leasing a portion of it, correct? That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, I think they're releasing 7,000.
So it's about 350,000, so it might, I don't know. If they paid half of it, we did the half, otherwise it's like 500,000.
Bucks a square foot up to
Because
570.
we've talked about the remodel there. We're supposed to be able to remodel on the roof, kind of go up, and then, I know I was told that multiple times when they actually looked at it.
That engineer said you can't build up any higher.
It's crazy. That was part of our expansion plan. Jerry, thank you for sending the letter to veterans.
Absolutely.
Tony, I was just looking to see if I got an email from Tony.
He's out sick again today.
He's out sick again, yes, that's,
Okay, because I was looking at the budget to figure out I just was a little concerned because the funding would be coming out of some of the, and I get that it goes to veterans.
Right. No, and I truly understand and appreciate your concern. Our biggest concern as the board, and we did vote unanimously, was that 1 July, Rob Bates' contract with the state is done. Because of the budget cuts with the VA and everything, they cut all of that out. So it would be great if Renew could help out in any way, shape, or form, but we need to continue to help those veterans. So I guess the wording on this probably is incorrect, or I'm not sure what Tony's wording was on his request. But maybe it's not to contract with him for the rest of the year, but at least to carry over until we find additional funding.
Okay, yeah, he said till the end of the year, not to.
And that's what my letter said also. But after hearing now there's potential for funding, could we at least approve it to carry out? So 1 July, a week from today, Rob Bates can continue helping those veterans in need on the same format of contract he's on right now. That's what all we're asking.
So on the contract that he has now, I didn't really, does he get paid just for in the office or is it for the services?
I don't know the details of the contract. I'm gonna leave, that's Tony's, we're just here to support Tony. I really truly wish he was here today.
Okay, yeah, and Dell, we let Dell know that Tony would be reaching out to him,
Okay.
so I think as soon as Tony's back in the office, and Dell's been pretty good about helping and finding funding.
No, Renew's been a great asset to the county. Like I said, our biggest concern, I know the letter states for the next 6 months, but it really would be the interim if there is funding out there. Because the Veterans Fund is healthy, as you're aware, and it's not exorbitant, but it is healthy, it has grown back. So we also want to make sure we're using it the correct way.
Yeah. Did you guys I kind of skimmed through the contract, I think he's reimbursed at $100 or $105 an hour, so I'm assuming that's probably for services rendered, unless he's.
And I apologize for not being read up on that.
No, I did read the contract. I think it's for actually the services. And then he has so many events that he's supposed to attend. So it's about $4,500 a month, $4,550.
It's professional services rates for individual couples and family rates is $105 per hour. Consultation, community education is $105 per hour, and group rate per client is $20 per hour. And the whole contract is not to exceed $27,300.
But must actually be services renting. I didn't know if it was.
So it's up to. And yeah, if Renew could step in and help, and then we could do some long-term planning too for future years, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I know we have some opioid funding. The board, would you feel comfortable just doing a month or two on that? What's today? We just don't want a gap. If Renew could step in.
So that's the total rent they pay for 10 years.
17.
9,735.60. You can buy a building for 9,735.
Maybe we can-
We can buy a building right now for that.
On Pioneer Way.
Yeah,
We could. Is it 7,000 square feet?
one of them's bigger, I think.
Oh, but is it close to the hospital though?
Yeah. $8,684 square feet.
Oh, there you go.
21 office spaces, large offices, multiple
It
conference
is
rooms,
quite the.
1,500 square foot basement. That's one Pioneer. Road from where they're at now.
Hospital. Is that the one they're looking at? So
brand new, but it's better than paying rent.
What was the price on that?
It's current, it's listed at $1,750,000.
8,500 square feet? Basement.
Built 93. Are you thinking on this Bates counseling, just to maybe do a couple months and see? If
I
it
would
fits?
see, yeah, because I think it might be, especially Tony out,
Somebody to help us out.
because we're not gonna even be able to contract. To do maybe a month or
Carrie, do you know how many people?
I don't have his
Basis
numbers out, I mean, I apologize. I was coming here as, more as a support element.
Gotcha.
Don't ask.
Wasn't prepared with numbers, I do apologize. I do know, with the expansion, that you guys, allowed and everything, with work sources moved in there at least once a week. New Hope's gone in there. It's growing. I mean, Tony, hiring Trevor was a good thing. It's gonna boom. And I know Rob Bates, I can't speculate, but I do know he was busy. So, but what that number is, unfortunately, only probably him and Tony could answer that. From an advisory board standpoint, though, I'm not speaking for the whole board, but just for myself, I think at least, given just even 2 months, that'd give them time for Tony and Dell to meet and, like I said, finish out the rest of the year hopefully, and maybe look at a long-term, something that really could be resourceful and impactful for the veterans in the long term.
And I would think the renew would be helping some of those veterans. So between the two, maybe this will work out.
Even with the opioid funding, or I think they've got to apply for
There's
that.
got to be some other funding out there
Yeah.
that
Well,
could
behavioral health right
pick
now
up the
is,
tab for it.
they do have funding. Some years that they haven't had nothing, I mean, just, it's been something that's been forgotten, but I would say there's been a push.
Yeah,
But we shouldn't have an issue getting. Shouldn't.
I understand.
The key word.
of course, every day changes, Last week, we weren't dropping bombs on Iran.
I'm fine with the entire thing, honestly. Oh, they printed here. Must have selected the wrong printer when I was. It shows vets assistance at 461,000.
And we do need, I'm not advising the commissioners on anything, well, I guess I am, because I'm on the advisory board, but, concern is also, we don't want that reserve fund to get too large, because if it gets I believe it's more than 2 years of the budget, it can be frozen and pulled into the general fund. And that's not the intent of
No,
this.
we cannot pull
Yeah,
that money.
no, legally you could, but I don't think you'd want to.
No, so that is.
So, let's use this funding for veterans. That's my, my concern's not the money so much, but we have the money, let's use it for the veterans.
But we've also run out of money before too.
Absolutely.
So that's where.
The nice thing is though, taxes continually go up.
Well, it looks like this year,
So.
go up even more.
We did a budget extension for the new employee.
We haven't done a budget extension for vet services yet.
I was gonna say, there shouldn't have been
He
one.
was waiting, from
That was-
what I remember, Tony was waiting to request a budget extension until he had finished purchasing everything that he needed for the new employee.
Okay. But we will be, because I'm looking at the budget for 2025.
And yes, so a portion of that extension will come from the employee growth and training, I believe, because I think it was budgeted in there for.
But it really
his
shouldn't be coming out
wages.
of current expense. It's not a current expense employee. It needs to come out of veterans.
Okay,
That's my, because we only kept current expense, everybody else was outside current expense, should have hit their own mark. So veterans has their own funding source, so they're not current expense.
okay. I think,
But I'm only one commissioner.
well, I think then maybe I am just confused, or maybe when Tony was explaining it to me, I got confused, but I thought that what he had said was that the position had gone through PMRT, and at the time when it was approved, it was during the budget season, and so the wages for that employee got put into that fund, like that, I don't know if it was employee
Yep.
growth group, that one for
Yeah,
the new positions that were approved.
but like all the public works employees should not have been in there, Renew employees should not have been there. New Hope, everybody that has their own funding source, the different silos. So Tony's spot is not under current expense, so his should not have been in there, it should have been.
And when the time comes, I mean, I can
Okay,
just reach
yeah.
out to Mandy and she'll know, or she should know where it is.
In your days.
But yeah, no, and looks like there's funding, so it should probably be a.
And I do know this has been worked on for a while. I know, Rob, you've been working on it for a while, prior, end of last year, beginning of this year, and the funding, it was late into the year that Trevor was hired, that, my understanding is it may be an internal extension to adjust funding, but the overall 275 won't have to be extended at this point. That's my understanding. Because of the funding, the amount that's in there and the amount that's allocated for direct support. But once again, I'm not speaking for Tony, I'm being cautious here.
Okay, no, and I've got the budget right here, if you look at it. Because the larger items are like food, 15,000, professional services, 15,000, rental lease, 20,000. Because Tony's, everything, there really isn't, yeah, I guess I'll have to wait.
Yeah. So it's going to be close, but I believe that was the plan, to have it included in this year's budget without, unknowns, without having to do an extension.
And maybe he's counting on that, the funding for that.
And I don't know about that.
Yeah,
So,
that could be.
apologize if I'm out of my water here.
No.
Daryl.
I'm good to go forward for July, but I would like to
1 month.
get more answers, and I'd probably be fine with the year. But I would like to know stats of how many he's seen.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of one of the most important pieces of what he's doing.
So it's about 4,500 a month. You want to do 5,000, not to exceed 5,000?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Kevin, are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
And then do we want to hold off on the rent then for,
I would like to hold on to the grant one, but
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that long-term lease, and to me, it's just throwing money away.
$17, $18?
Still, the taxpayers still pay for it.
We could buy it and rent it.
yeah.
Well, that's just it, there's no sense in.
I just feel like if we can help them, yeah, the more services, funding for services. We go back to the people who are the best.
I sent that to Tom to ask him what his thoughts were as far as.
He didn't like it. He said it in his update a couple weeks ago that he didn't like that lease, he didn't like the length, he didn't like the price.
No, I sent him that.
Oh, being responsible for maintenance on it.
Yeah, just to check it out and see what he thought as far as, what kind of updates we'd have to do or.
Oh, for the older one.
Yeah. Since they'd be doing the maintenance on it. But still, even at that, it's, to me, it's, at least at the end of 10 years, we have something.
Yeah, you roll that $150,000 a year into helping people versus brand.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's actually up to 200 and some thousand a year
At that time.
by the time 10 years is up.
And just remember, there is the rescinded item for special event permit.
And it was a motion to rescind.
Yeah. Anything else, or we'll take a 4-minute recess?
No, I don't have anything.
All right, we'll go into recess for 4 minutes till we're back at 9 a.m. with Public Works. Good morning, it's 9 a.m. and we are here for our Public Works update with Andy Booth and John Brissy.
Good morning.
Morning.
We'd like to start with our accomplishment updates by John.
As you can see, it's a short list for the week, but our litter control folks 5 total tons that they picked up around the county last week. The landfill solid waste collected 2,449 tons. In the road districts, we are still able to do a little bit of grading. District 3 is grading all their areas. District 1 did some rock raking and blading. Seal coat continues. They are still in District 2. I did, with the short week, they did 14.91 miles of seal coat last week. Bridge crew did some culvert repair and install. They were cleaning culverts up on Sheep Canyon. They added some rock to an abutment wall on Badger and 23 Northwest and did some guardrail maintenance. They replaced a bunch of burnt posts on 11 Southwest. And that is it for last week. Everybody is pretty much seal coating or that type of thing. Any questions?
On the canal break that was Saturday, I think, it does not look like our infrastructure sustained much damage at all.
That didn't
So,
look like it was that big a deal, just a little water over the road.
yeah. They actually requested to start using that road because it shortened their haul, and we let them go ahead and use it. But if it falls apart, they're responsible for it. So far, it seems to be doing fine. So I know it's imperative they get that canal repaired and water back running. So, and the chip seal, we this week are having problems with our brand new distributor and our brand new chip box. So that's not frustrating at all.
$900,000 worth of brand new equipment giving us fits. But
It's bound to happen.
It is.
Got all that electronic stuff on it,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's, so we'll see how many miles they do this week, but
yeah, they were cut short yesterday. Instead of 4 loads, I think they only got 2 out because of the breakdowns. So hopefully they'll back up to 4 again after that.
You had a truck that backed into another truck, one of your public works.
I heard there was a little tap,
Oh.
but nothing, no damage, just a scrape.
Oh, okay,
Metal.
we got a
They just bumped
report
each
on it.
other.
Okay. Nothing.
Yeah, the one I heard about, there was no, the one we had like last year, they ripped the hood off and, they just
Okay.
pushed the fender back into the tire and that kind of thing. This one was just a tap.
Backed into each other.
That's the only thing I've heard about.
Okay, no, it's probably the same one.
Yeah,
Now that we have an insurance guy, we hear about everything.
yeah.
yeah, Blair's been a big help.
He's been
That's-
huge.
We
yes.
appreciate him. He's a good partner. And he sent us some policies to review on vehicle use. He's doing a great job. We appreciate him. So next up, or sorry, is there any other questions?
I had a question on the burnt post. Was there a fire or is that, how did the post get
I'm
burned?
not aware of,
Well,
I wasn't
obviously a
aware of
fire,
it
like a
until I got this.
wildfire or a,
What road was it, John?
11 Southwest.
It's guardrail post,
Yeah,
isn't it?
there was some burn down there at the irrigation district
oh,
when they were burning weeds caught on fire. So I don't know if that happened again, but that's happened to us a couple times down there. Because I'm not aware of like any brush fires or, we had like 40 posts burned out on W Northeast several years ago in one of those fires.
Didn't they have a big major fire down there on the slope a week ago or so, week or 2 ago, around 11 and R?
I believe so, yeah.
Or,
yeah, it was.
so I don't know
really
if that has to do
Okay.
with it. That could be part of it, but
It was a field and then it went to the next field there. I think it was Timothy.
oh, okay. Yeah, that could be what it's about, or it could be just, like you said, they were burning weeds and it got under there and burnt some of the, it's typically what are the blocks in between the post and the rail. They used to steal them, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
On the frontage road, they'd knock them out of there and use it for firewood when they're fishing on South Frontage, there at the Wasteway.
Because you can't, if you put them on real tight in the summer, the wood shrinks and the nut's loose. You just spin it off, slide the bolt
There you
right
go,
out.
firewood.
nice 6x8 to go burn. Yeah. So, yeah, places like that, we would put that bolt in and we would take a hammer and smash the end of the threads. Really was terrible for us when we had to work on it, but it stopped them from stealing the blocks. So wasn't much else we could do.
Yeah.
If
Start
you-
putting lock nuts on there
Yeah,
and then have to get a wrench out.
they're 1.25 wrench. They're pretty good sized and they're a specialized guardrail nut. So. it
Well, now
was-
we know if we need firewood.
Know how to
I
get it.
cannot believe somebody would take it off of a bridge.
And they're treated as well. They're not,
That's just it, yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I guess
20
we
Now
gotta-
the new style is, what's that, black?
It's a polycarbonate block that they're
So,
using now.
If you see the guardrail with the steel posts, it doesn't have that wood block in between
Okay.
anymore, so.
Now they're using a steel I-beam with that polycarbonate block. So that'll be good.
Well, you learn something every day.
Yeah. If you guys, how's your calls on litter? Have you gotten any? Have they gone down if you have, or?
I haven't gotten any calls.
Haven't had any this year.
About litter.
I haven't had anybody say, hey, other than Jerome, he said he noticed it.
Do you notice it yourselves at all? You do? Okay.
Yeah.
I know they're working hard and we're still trying to figure out better ways. They've tried different pickers and they really haven't found anything that works good yet. At last week's meeting, there was a lady from Ecology who used to do their summer litter program. And she sent Jason a link to some of the tools that they were using. So we haven't received them yet, but they're 5 tons in a week. That's a lot of trash to pick up.
Almost need a vacuum cleaner just to.
Yeah, I know you said that before, and I was thinking about that, some kind of backpack and,
Back cleaner.
I know some of those tires might not come out though.
yeah. And they're still walking miles of roads in the morning and then doing illegal dumps in the afternoon. It's a little easier for them. You gotta drive out, pick it up, bring it back.
Are they still finding a lot of those illegal dumps all over the place?
Yeah, and our foremen and supervisors, they're dropping pins on the map and they're sending it.
Oh, okay, so they can
So,
find.
yeah, because these two, they're both from the Moses Lake area, I believe. They don't really know the county that well, so that works out really well too. And they send it to Jeff and Jackie, our 2 foremen, and then they send them out in the afternoon and pick up. I went by one on Sunday. It was 2 couches and 4 tires on 8 Northwest. So I just dropped a pin and sent it to them. And so it's plenty to do. And I don't even know if they've gone up on like Monument, or I'm not sure how much of that they've even touched yet.
Right.
They've been up there yet.
So,
I'm sure it's an ongoing problem.
yeah,
Oh, it is, and it will be.
But this is 2 more people working at it that we never had before, so can only get better.
next up, we have an update on West Shore by John.
Yesterday they should have finished paving the main road. All that is completed. Today they're paving approaches to other intersections. After that, they'll go back to working on the backside of the sidewalks and adding maintenance rock to the backsides and continuing on with, they're gonna have to dig out for the drainage system and install all of those drains through the sidewalk. We still haven't heard anything on the mailboxes on when that's gonna occur yet. We just heard yesterday, maybe the posts are back ordered, so. That's all I have on the mailboxes, but yeah, after today, they'll start working on that backside with rock and then they have to dig out behind those drainages and install drainage rock and to handle any drainage through there, so.
No, are those mostly on the west side of West Shore?
I think they're all the way through on both sides.
Oh, the mailboxes?
No, the drain,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And there are still a few approaches that need to be poured. I'm not sure what the problem is there with a couple of them. I think the upholstery shop people have one that's not finished, and then they're still working on coming up with the letter through the state of what we're sending out to the citizens for working on their property for the approaches. But we have to work through them, I believe, just because they're funding,
Gotcha.
so that's all gotta be checked by them and okayed.
And I'm assuming that all the people out on West Shore that have that issue are being told that that's what's going on, so
Yeah.
that they understand that
Yeah.
it's not us that's holding it up,
Yeah,
it's the state.
Yeah, and we just don't have all the information yet, and we need them to approve it. And Tyler's got all those driveways to work through and figure out how many feet we need of their, to work on their property, and
Each one's gonna be different.
yeah, they will.
They don't understand that, they just think that, mine needs to be fixed, so get out here and fix it.
Well, and I think it's important, to make sure they know if you have a concrete driveway, it's going to be replaced with what's there. It's not gonna be gravel unless you have gravel. I think some people have been concerned about that. Seems a little better when you describe, nope, if it's paved, it will be paved.
if it's stamped concrete, it'll be
Yeah.
stamped
There's
concrete.
one that's stamped, that one's gonna be a fun one. So, it's, yeah. Anything else, John?
That's all I have.
Any more questions on West Shore?
No?
Last week, Jason and Joan and I went to the Waxland meeting in Ellensburg. And a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. The House Bill 1154, it's, some of the stuff it calls for, it gives Department of Ecology oversight over our landfill. We have already been doing, working with ecology, even though the health department was in charge of our permit. And the ecology people in our area have been great. They respond quick, they're easy to work with. But this bill gives them where they could fine us if they think we're out of violation, up to 5,000 a day. They can even close us. They have not had that authority in the past. So that was some of the changes in that one. The other one that was talked about a lot was 5284 Senate bill, and it's a recycling bill. There could be a lot of changes in the area. It's going to be a producer-funded responsibility, but it's, right now, we're not bound to it because there's nobody that takes that material in our area. But whether that continues or not, I don't know. So that could be some very big changes.
Is that gonna be something that's gonna cost the county? Or is the state gonna help out, or?
What the bill, and I have not read the whole bill yet myself, but summaries of it and in the meeting is, they say it's producer funded. So if I make pens, I have to help pay for the plastic package that it's in there for that being recycled. It starts out at 50% funded, and I believe it caps at 90%. So to say it's not gonna cost us anything, yeah, it will. When you buy that pen, that package costs you 2 more cents now. But it is partially funded by the producer in the bill, and it must be 150 pages. So I'm not done with it myself, and I don't like, unless I read it myself, I don't like going off of that, but Travis and Paul Jewell are working hard to get this amended. And I mean, what do we do with it if there's nobody that takes it in our area? I don't know yet. That one, 1154, not so bad, especially for us, since we've already been working with ecology and we've had good experiences with them. I'm not as, the 5284, there's a lot of unknowns and potentially some very significant changes. So, of course, the haulers, they're all opposed to it because they essentially mean doubling your fleet. Now you have 2 cans at every house, and it could be a big change. So we'll see what happens with that one. So we'll make sure that Paul and Travis keep working hard in Olympia for us. So, any other questions on that one? Okay. I think that's all we have. Anything else?
So I was down by Stratford here last week, and I noticed a lot of that water's gone underneath that.
Should be dry now.
Yeah, it looks like it's.
And they are planning on starting on those pipes tomorrow, I think he said. Because they started grinding Stratford yesterday. Contractor did. And so our bridge crew guys are gonna start,
They're gonna close that road, I assume.
yeah, we're gonna close it so that, you know, they can get down to the houses, but the rest of the traffic will have to go all the way around and then get into line for the pilot car. I'm sure they're piloting people through. I haven't been out there, but typically that's what they would do. So they're gonna have to go around us to get to sit in line to for a pilot car, but it's the best time to do it. They're already being kind of put out, so this will just, and we got a guarantee from them that no more water will be going in while we're doing this. So we're gonna run into wet soil anyway, just because everything that was in there soaked up, but we're not gonna have any more coming in.
Right. Yeah, must get it done before harvest.
Yeah.
We'd like to have it done so when we shoot oil on Stratford on the project, we can go down there and we want to leave it down a couple inches, shoot oil to get a good firm surface, and then we'll come back over with HMA with a 2-inch lift to smooth it all out once we're done. That's the plan, and then we can go back with the guardrail and everything else.
The paver we have doesn't really work in gravel. It's more for pre-levels. It sinks in it. We just drag it behind our dump truck. It can.
This
drive
one,
itself,
this one drives itself, but it doesn't, it seems to want to dig into the gravel. So if we have a BSD surface, more of a hard surface, it'll lay that out a lot nicer.
And it, you know, several years ago, when we did the test holes and all that, I mean, Nichols Kovich was not 100% sure that this would fix it. And short of taking the entire thing out and starting over, she wouldn't guarantee, but she said it will certainly help. So we're doing everything we can. We're going to dig down as far as we can. We're going to use the material she suggested. We're going to do the burrito wrap on top. We're going to do everything we can.
So there's no 100% guarantee without removing all the pipes and starting from bottom and going up.
I would think with a bunch of rock in there, that should help a lot.
And they're far enough apart, with the small bucket on our excavator, they'll be able to get down there quite a ways and remove the material and replace it with better stuff. So, I think it'll fix it myself, but
I would think so.
it's,
Time will tell.
we'll know in the winter.
Yeah.
No, we dug those test holes. It's completely saturated. It was very bad. So
We're gonna take,
When it's done.
we're gonna take that material to 20 Road. We have a pit location there, so it can dry out, and then we'll utilize it somewhere else that isn't so structurally sound and
use it that deep,
Yeah.
not 12 feet.
mix it with some rock.
Yeah. So, anything else?
I see you two have kind of coordinated your colors. Nice, nicely done.
He wouldn't know. I have to do the color coordination.
Like, I mean, he could be navy, yeah, later for this, way to pull it together, John.
He told me this morning his pickup was gray. I said, your pickup's gray? I thought it was black, but.
Just depends whatever, the way the light's hitting it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm colorblind. We go to meetings and they use a laser pointer. I can never see them. I don't know what the heck they're pointing at.
Really? You don't see the laser?
One guy, and he took the top off like a level, and his dot was like an inch. I could see that one. That's the only time I've ever been able to see a laser pointer.
And we don't mess with them at all about it.
What? Yeah, they do. The only one I trust to ask if I'm dressed okay is Yvonne. Are my colors terrible?
But they have tyranimals where you match the right animals for when the kids were younger. But, I think you can get away with anything these days, plaids and prints and
Well, my wife won't get up at 4 o'clock to help me get dressed, so kind of on my own.
great. You cannot, run a t-shirt and jeans or a shirt and jeans. Pretty hard to.
Oh, he
No, Daryl will even do the black on black, with this.
They don't pick on me at all.
Yeah, right.
Well, there are some trainings for harassment in the workplace. One of them is for managers, 2 hours. I thought it was going to be an hour long. It was a 2-hour.
So you've done some of those? They're pretty good, aren't they?
Well, I thought, the one, I'm like, I did think it was an hour. I'm like, be prepared. They read really slow.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out how to speed up that little.
Yeah, I think
Once I
that,
do, we're all on, trying to figure out how do you speed that up.
I was getting some questions, so I wanted to get one in. I did it yesterday morning, just so I could answer questions from our employees and stuff. And I agree with you. I think the next one I do, I might just shut that off and read it myself, but it was good information. I liked how it worked.
I missed one on the training. I thought it was like sexual harassment, but it was a different, discrimination.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it at our supervisor meeting. Solid Waste is already getting people in and getting it done, but they have the advantage that they're always at the same facility, except for the litter crew, where our public works crews are always out. We're gonna have to.
Well, they
carve
can
out
do it on
time.
the phone. I did mine on my cell phone. Yes, harassment is one individual. So that's where they made some comment directed towards women. And so I'm thinking it's discrimination, but it's actually harassment.
Discrimination's a group. So what I took yesterday.
Okay, I'm like, I got that one wrong. I'm like, I got that wrong.
I had gotten assigned cyber training.
Yeah, I did that one
And-
too.
Well, I got through 2 lessons and then it disappeared. I don't have it anymore. I have 2 accomplishments, but I don't have 3 and 4. But the modules were different, each one, the way it played and was formatted.
Great, maybe you got cyber attacked.
Yeah.
You were attacked.
But it was, and then they give you that survey at the end, how did this work? And the last one was really good, the way it worked out. But so now I'm on to harassment. But yeah, I got through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 just disappeared. So I guess I'd had enough training.
Well, if you could figure out how to speed up that video,
Yeah, it is pretty slow.
very slow. I was struggling with the leadership module until I figured out they could start talking a little faster. This one's painfully slow.
I was out at the landfill yesterday. You guys got a lot going on out there right now.
Yes.
Like how?
Phase 4 is underway.
Is that what they're doing?
What's that?
Trying to finish up the liner at the bottom of that.
Yeah, that's phase 4. We actually didn't have that dug down quite as close as we thought we did. The contractor's hauling out the last of it to get it down to grade. We have an update today on how their progress. And so we have that going. The remediation building is running, the active landfill. It's a lot going on.
Yeah. Yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Have made any steps on property? Any steps with COVID?
Working on the RFQ. So hopefully this week it will go out.
How much higher is West Shore now?
How much higher?
Yeah, with the asphalt.
About 3 feet.
I don't know what the lift,
How they
I'm
do.
assuming they did a 3-inch lift, but I don't honestly know.
I haven't been out there since yesterday. So.
Should be even with the concrete on the
Yeah, that
gutters,
curve.
Yeah.
curbing.
But I don't know if they typically, either they do 2 2-inch lifts or they do 1 3-inch lift. And so that's why I'm assuming they just did a 3-inch, but I'm not positive.
Okay, anything else?
No?
Well then, we'll take a quick recess until 9:30 when we are back for, looks like Facilities TS. Good morning, it is 9:31 and we are back in session for a facilities maintenance and TS update.
All right, good morning, commissioners, and welcome everybody. So yesterday, before I turn it over to Kevin and I did inspect both the WSU and youth services spaces as well as the Veterans Building. We also examined the parking lot and stuff by the fairgrounds. I'll let Kevin discuss all that stuff. I would like to say that I think the new offices for youth services are much nicer than the offices they came from. Their sign is now on the door and we're still working on other improvements. So the paving is complete at the fairgrounds. The ADA path is 5 foot wide, which is a little narrower than typical, but greater than the legal requirements and more than enough for somebody in a walker, wheelchair, whatever. And normal walking people can easily get around anybody in a wheelchair. So the DOJ grant is still as confusing as ever. And I've got an email off to them today. And those are my latest little items for facilities. And lastly, since Kevin just walked in, I did see your email. I agree with you. I'd like to talk to you more about it afterwards. So about leasing. So Kevin.
All right, well, I'd like to start off by introducing our latest maintenance forward, Kyle Brown. So he fills out our crew and just bring him up here and let him see how the process kind of works. So,
Great.
and you can put a face with the name. So we'll get him all official and everything going here. But yeah, he's been here for a week now and we're getting him in the swing of things. Other than that, so yeah, Tom touched on what we're doing up for YS at the Wheeler Road facility. As Tom said, and I got a picture of it you can have if you want, we got the decal on the front door for them. We also got the window installed into the office that Tammy wanted, the interior one. She had been kind of hoping to have the other window pulled out that was nearest the door. But WSU has a big employee board over that, so I didn't think that was right to remove WSU's board to put another window in there. So she did get one.
They don't really have another spot to put that board.
Yeah, so it's right out front. Other things that are happening that move around that, so district court, obviously, they had to move their break room into a different room, so we ended up clearing that out, getting all the surplus items that they had in there. Arranging it, getting desks and chairs in there for them and getting them so that they're situated.
Rob, did you see this? Okay. Sorry.
The other thing we still got going on at Wheeler Road with that is getting the windows cut into the side. So I am working with Teresa Krell from Meyer Engineering to get down here, architecture, and look at that building and figure out how we can do that without, damaging the building or causing bigger issues. So that's in motion. It's just getting everybody there to work on it. So Veterans Administration, we're still doing some things to help them out a little bit too. So they put up a new mailbox. I got the landscaper down there today. He's trimming around that so the mailman can see it, and the limbs are back off the sidewalk so nobody's walking into it. Moving some things around for him and putting some things together so that their offices are complete as well. Wheeler Road parking lot. An engineer from GeoPro was here on Friday to look at the lot. We went and probed where the sinkholes basically were, where the hypersaturated soil was, a term I didn't know I would ever know in my lifetime. And it's dried out quite a bit. So we had a cost where a bid out there where it was going to be about $135,000 to dig out that parking lot 2 feet down, haul that soil off, bring in big crushed rock to build a subgrade, and then go over with the final subgrade before putting down the asphalt. He actually has a recommendation, and I printed it out if you want to see it. He had a couple in there, but he thinks the most economical.
Just email that to him.
Okay. The most economical one was to put in what he called GeoGrid, which basically looks like orange construction fencing, and you bury that into the subgrade and it adds reinforcement to it. So it'll prevent any cracking or moving of the soil. So I think that's the direction that we're going to investigate and get bids on doing that. And we should have an answer hopefully by the end of the week on what direction we're gonna go in finishing up that parking lot.
It'd be significantly less costly.
So the materials are about $2,500 he figured for that lot, and then it's just grading it into the subgrade. So hopefully,
And
we're gonna cut that at least in half,
And we still plan to put some kind of a storm swale.
yes.
So would you use, I'm just looking at it, it's pretty, I've never seen it before, 3-inch, 6-inch. You put in, it's kind of like a web.
Mm-hmm,
Probably 3-inch, I would imagine.
yeah,
A little stronger.
so
I didn't know it existed.
we'll keep you posted
Neither did
on
we.
what's going with that. Exactly.
It's like a honeycomb, yeah, kind of like.
This kind of locks it all together and that stuff doesn't stretch, so it'll keep that soil from flexing and, the asphalt breaking up. Public Works Fuel System had a state inspection last week and we passed, so, the one thing that was kind of almost a problem is that we needed to have the state business license renewed. It had expired back in 2022, so Michelle and Willow worked on that, got it renewed before the technician showed up. Basically, if he had showed up and that license was not in place, he wouldn't have done the inspection and red tagged the pumps, and we would not have been able to use them. So thank you for Michelle and Willow getting that done so that the pumps can continue to operate. Obviously, you know about the events we've been setting up and taking down and helping out with. So we've had 3 events in the last week, basically. So we had Sage and Son, Chief for a day, and then the car show this last weekend. The grass is showing a little wear for that. We're working on getting that green back up and looking good. So hopefully within a couple more days, it'll perk back up and look good again. Tyler is coming on July 1. Talking with Vanessa, she's anticipating that we're gonna be spending additional time to process payables as the bugs are worked out of the system. There's some things that they're a little concerned about how the funds are gonna work, so we're just gonna have to spend the time, fix it, and make it work the way we need it to work.
We'll touch a little bit more on that when we go to the TS.
Okay. Other landscaping projects, so again, mentioned that he's getting the grass back to green with the events and the effect they had. Looking to find a company with a tree spade to replace the tree in the breezeway that we got cut down last year. And I don't know, I used to see tree spades run all over the place back where I'm from, but here I haven't found a company yet with
What
it.
is a tree spade?
And so a tree spade is, it's got 4 hydraulic spades basically on it. And what they'll do is they'll go back around the tree and those spades go down and basically cut that old root ball out. They lift it out, move it to the side, and you get your new tree, instant shade,
Okay.
drop it in the hole,
You
pull up and leave.
do a Google search for hydraulic tree spade.
They're
You-
cool.
They are.
Super cool.
Why would I?
They can transplant much larger trees.
Yes, you can start out with something that's
Okay.
almost the same size as we have out there. So I'm trying to find somebody to do that so we can get instant shade back out there and make it look nice. And yeah, it'd be awesome to, I just haven't found anybody yet. It could be, they probably hit them rocks and bust them off. It's expensive,
Can't
right?
wait to build that roundabout.
We're gonna have an arborist come in too, again, and look at our trees. The middle one is starting to show some effects of limbs dying and things happening in there, so want to try and get in front of that, make sure, our trees are all healthy, and if we have to give them any kind of treatments, that we get in front of it before we lose all our trees. So last year we had, the birch tree out here, we had an injection put into that to keep the golden birch borer out of it. And so far, we're looking good. You see all the birch trees around the neighborhoods are dying, but ours is standing good, so. Another project that we'll have for
Who does
lands.
that basin tree?
I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He was an arborist out of,
That wasn't maple.
the birch.
Yeah.
The golden birch borer.
Yeah.
Did I say it was a maple?
No, the guy's last name was maple.
Yeah, I can't remember it. I didn't save them in my contacts, but
So they just kind of go in and inject the tree?
yes. So if you look on the bottom, you'll see where there's 4 holes drilled in the bottom, and that's where he shot the chemical in there to keep those bugs out of it. So I don't know if we have something similar going on with these trees, but I did find another arborist that I'm talking to or trying to get back with. His name is the Professor, so we'll see what he comes up with. So arborists are kind of unique guys. Also, one more. I've seen some dead limbs in the parking lot across the road here, and so we'll be getting bids to trim those trees up as well before limbs start cropping on cars. Just some other little notes. Courthouse maintenance has been covering the jail. The Corey, who usually works in there, he had to get some surgery, so he's hoping to be back Friday, but we're trying to keep on top of the work orders there. Currently, there's 20 open work orders, mostly PMs at this point, so again, it just added load to what we're doing. And one other thing that we're looking at with the new jail coming up is that getting a pickup for the new jail that can be put up there. Public Works may have one come available next week. It's a 2016 Chevy. It's got some bed damage, he said, on it, but what we need doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be functional, right? And so he's going to give us a cost on that, but it might be something we're asking for some funds for to purchase that and have that in place when that jail opens up. Other than that, do you have any questions or thoughts or anything for maintenance that we need to cover?
No, everything looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for working on the youth services stuff and the veterans.
We're still working on it.
I know, but it's nice to just see the progress because, it took a lot of finessing to get them to move and the judges to allow them to come in and all that stuff to take place. So I do appreciate it.
Yeah, sometimes it takes time, but I think it looks
I
nice.
just remember when I first got elected and you and I went there and I'm like,
What is
all
this?
these empty spaces, and you're like, no. And then I remember bringing it up to like Judge Moberg, and it was like, no. And like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And then, it's
Just
come
take-
a long
yeah.
way, and so I did try to keep on top of it.
Well, and we have to say thanks to you too, because you've had a lot of conversations with them that were probably a little bit more fruitful than ours were, so.
Yeah,
Obviously
It
they
takes a
were.
team, so thanks. Moving on to GCTS, I want to start by saying thanks to Caitlin and everybody on that email string. I think you probably saw my
I
reply.
called Kevin and I talked to him for probably 5 minutes. about
Yeah,
it.
the vigilance that was shown as they tried to do that. Currently, we have a very close business partner that's experiencing a ransomware event. We're not mentioning their name out of respect of the request of their insurance company as they try and figure this out, but they are seriously disrupted. Staying vigilant on that, asking those questions, even if sometimes it seems silly. I'd much rather go through a 15 or 20-minute exercise and include 20 people and then move on than to do what's happening with our business partner.
It was validated that the original email was a phishing email.
Yeah.
And so it got stopped.
One of the things I found out too is probably once they're back on their feet, I've offered to host them over here, and their IT team is going to come over.
Okay.
And kind of sit with us and do a lessons learned and talk about from when they discovered it, what they did, what their insurance company did. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to learn. So they're going to come over here and sit with us.
Okay, cool.
We'll do a lunch, and
Talk to anybody who's actually been a victim.
I think it's a great opportunity to learn from it. So anyway, so with that, I'll turn it over to Pete.
Cool. Well, thank you, Tom. It's been a weird last couple of weeks. Last week was kind of a short week, and so not a whole lot happened. Keith is out for last week, this week, and I'm guessing potentially next week because of surgery. He had an incident in January where he hurt his shoulder really bad, and then finally got x-rays. And then they were like, oh, we're going to schedule you for surgery. So he got that taken care of, and he's now on the mend, and he is just fidgety and just itching to come back. We're like, nope, you're staying home and healing correctly.
We're all boarding a plane in 13 days, so hopefully he's good to go for that, so.
So that's what's going on with Keith, and that's why, another reason why John's here, so.
Well, welcome, John.
John's got some other stuff that he's gonna fill you up on here in just a minute, so. Last night we had some IGN shenanigans occur. I got a phone call about 2:30 from the jail that, Omnix was down. I started checking some stuff. It looked like everything on our end, as best as I could tell, was okay. I submitted a ticket to WATEC, which we got weird responses this morning, John and I, from WATEC.
So have you guys ever heard the term IGN? Do you know what that is? Okay.
So the IGN is our intergovernment network. It is how the counties connect back to the state for certain state services. So all of the courts, all of the Washington State Patrol stuff gets licensing gets back to us over what is called the IGN. So
it's kind of separate from our network.
Yeah, it's the WATEC is the state's version of technology services. So they are the entity in control of the IGN, and so when their network goes down, then we interface with their IT people and fix stuff. So apparently there was a widespread outage locally that affected a bunch of stuff. I think even Mac may have had some problems last night. I don't know for sure. I didn't have time to check with them this morning. But it's working now. So Omnix is back up and the courts are working. I mean, phones aren't blowing up and it's 9:47.
Well, yeah, it's just, it's important to understand that, when you hear IGN and outage, 99.99% of the time, the only thing we can be is reactive, right?
Yeah.
It's not us, so.
And so one of the things that John and I have spent the morning doing is refining some of our troubleshooting techniques and how we can more quickly identify us versus them sides of the coin to make sure that we're being helpful to them in resolving it if it's out of our control kind of a deal. So, so it gets a little confusing because they don't happen very often. And when they do happen, we're like, we've got to remember how it is that we did the thing we did the last time. So we kind of did a deep dive this morning and very proactive in trying to get those diagnostic things figured out. So
Documented.
and well, just better documented because there was some stuff, but it was kind of obscure. So we've done better. We're refining some stuff out of the fairgrounds for access to cameras. So once we got everything onto the new NVRs, the network video recorders, there's a lot of cameras on each of those recorders, and they put a serious hurt on the traffic going to the fair office when they try to view those. So when we first started doing it and we had a few on there, it wasn't so bad. And then by the time we got done, it is now evident that that method is not going to work the way we intended. So I yesterday came up with a new method for providing a solution for Jim. And so we are donating them 2 laptops in order for them to be able to review video if they had a report of an incident at the fairgrounds. And so, and this is also going to kind of help us in another arena. We get the feeling that there's more than just one person sitting around looking at cameras throughout the day.
I'm going out there this afternoon to discuss that.
Yeah, and so we get a lot of complaints, and it's like, well, you guys are just decimating the bandwidth, so we can't fix that. So this will certainly address that. So fortunately for us. We also are refining some of the other camera network things that we've done this spring thus far. We're done with the deploys of all the cameras. They're in place. The way we interconnected the cameras, some of those links aren't working as well as we had hoped they would. So we've already got a solution for that, and Ricky will be going out hopefully this week, probably between now and next week, replacing some of those wireless links to make sure that we're getting better throughput on them. And because we want to make sure everything's as good as it can be before fair. So we got the install done, and we're in that tidying up and putting a bow on it, making it all spiffy before fair. We got updates for email, Barracuda, 89,000 total emails, 11,000 blocked quarantine, and 2 virus emails blocked. Web and Umbrella, we blocked 34,000 websites out of 50 million. 110 blocks were categorized as security related. Of those, most were sites linked to phishing and malware. Malware and phishing are up, viruses are down, shields are holding again. 2 other things note, first, phishing test results are in, summary is good. And on that, I'm just gonna kick it over to John.
50 million websites visited.
Yeah, in
Hey,
2 weeks,
In 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
which is right on sort of our average. It's around 25 million a week.
Most of those are ads.
Right.
Just want to throw that out there.
There is,
Still.
the page count or the page hit count is massively elevated by a number of stupidities in the way web pages are designed. It's like if you load a web page and it's got that little Facebook symbol on it, that counts as a hit on Facebook because that's where that image comes from. If there's one for Twitter or X
So
or
every
whatever.
page might be 5 or 6 pages.
Right, so usually each page is 5 or 6 pages. And that doesn't even count this, actual advertisements, because that'll bring up a number of hits on the ad network. So it can really inflate the numbers, and there's no good way of determining what the real world number is. So we just report the total number of hits. That's all we can do. On to the phishing report. Last year, I think our results were something like 1.7% of
It was
people clicking.
extremely low.
This was the purposeful phishing attempts that we did with our third-party vendor to see how many people would fall victim to it. So this was
And this year, it was considerably worse.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Well,
Did all three
there's a
of them
reason
do it?
for it.
roughly 10% or between 10 and 12%. I can't remember the exact number. And I printed the report out, but I can't read it because it's too faint. So I gotta
Okay.
figure out why my printer sucks. But will email you all a copy of the report so you can read it in a format that's actually readable in. The reason for the increase, the
Yeah.
massive increase was this year we used a really mean test email.
brilliant,
And it,
brilliant testing.
Do we all
It's-
open it? Yeah, we're probably all like, we kind of open this.
It
Oh, no, you would have known by now.
Okay.
was purporting to be from our insurance provider.
HMA.
And it looked real. And that was kind of the point, is a good phishing email is going to look real, especially one that's targeted against people at your level or the head accountant or things like that. And of the people who fell for the phishing test, all but 3, and there was 80 something, all but 3 of them fell for that email. We sort of split the county, so statistically it's valid that almost everybody fell for the HMA email. The other one that they did, very few people bid on. And that was more standard. It was about a antivirus detection on your system. And it was from a vendor that we don't use. And so that one, we had a very low response rate. So I think people are taking the information we've given them about not clicking on links you don't expect. However, they're not being careful enough about verifying something that's a little unexpected, an out of the blue email from an actual vendor that we use, and they're clicking on that link.
There's enough info in that email to have some red flags.
Right.
So.
And the good news is we did have almost as many people who just fell for it. Almost as many people reported it, either to technology services or they called HR to try and track down why the insurance vendor was sending them this email.
And they were really proactive.
Yeah.
They were like, send out emails so we can stop this now. We were like, just.
One of the tricky things about running a test like this is we have to keep the babble down a little bit because we don't want people to get word in advance that there's a test going on because that influences their responses. So I think it was overall a positive response. And it does what we want these tests to do. it highlights where we need to train more.
Yeah.
And, so I don't think it was a horrible,
It was
result.
still a really low turnout.
Yes, industry-wide, 12% is fairly low.
Yeah, they'd still expect us to hit between 25 and 30%.
Is that the one that said, click here to see the new enrollments?
Yeah.
Okay.
The big HMA logo. So, like I said, some people fell for it. We've got the list and we're, I have to go through and add what the department is for everybody so we can compare that way and figure out where to target our training going forward.
One individual was very upset that we weren't gonna send out an all Grant County warning about it, because we're like going, and I was like, okay.
I sent a
Can't talk
very-
about this, we're doing this.
I sent a very explanatory email to that elected official.
He was fired up. He totally wanted to like attack this thing, and we were like, yes, no, shh.
Those are when it's a real attack, those are the responses we really appreciate. It's like, oh yeah, we're getting this dug out of people's mailboxes and deleting it as fast as we can.
So that person actually got a gold star, and he never gets gold stars, so good for him. And then Larissa, she got a gold star.
Larissa gets 2 gold stars. She went above and
We gotta start doing a thing where we bring in like cupcakes for the people.
Right.
She was going, she contacted HMA before she even called us. She contacted HMA to find out if it was.
So that HMA could start telling people.
Yeah, and we're like,
That was,
Oh, yeah.
she did exactly
Internal.
what we hope
Yeah.
somebody will do in that case. And it's like, it went really well. And the only other thing I got was what Tom was addressing about our major vendor experiencing a phishing attack. As soon as I heard about that, I went and set it so all of their email is automatically being quarantined, just sort of out of an abundance of caution, so that if you're 90% of the
Right now,
emails
everything
to
we're
this
doing
vendor
is
go to
via
you,
text,
so.
yeah. And I have a 10 AM pre-proposal conference for the GCCM with Turner Townsend, so I gotta be.
and that is the world of fabulous technology, so if you have any questions.
I'm just glad we didn't do it. This is like, yay. I think I was the biggest
Yeah.
culprit the last time. So.
I would like to find a few minutes to talk to you about your email though, and you should be a part of that conversation too.
Yeah, we
It's
should
got
get that.
11 o'clock.
We should get done.
Why don't?
Yeah, and I don't, my 10 o'clock is only supposed to be about a half hour, so it's gonna be dependent on how many people even show up, so. We'll see. All right. Well, thanks.
Thanks,
Good day. Welcome again.
Thanks.
We told them that we gave you gold stars for the email thing.
Cindy, would you like to go into recess until the
I'm really
HR
sorry.
update?
Yes, well, we'll just hang tight, so we're not, I don't know what happened. We can just hang tight here and open up in a minute. We have a minute. Okay, don't say anything. Thank you, Caitlin, for. I don't even know. Good morning, it is 7 o'clock. We are here with HR and wait for the other 2 commissioners to return. Good morning. Right outside the door. Like Kevin.
if we need to go into names. But I always have that executive session in that box, just so I remember the code.
Did you already start?
Oh, we actually didn't end the last one, so.
Oh, that's right.
Okay,
Been
wait.
one of days.
Hang tight, we've got, is it seriously locked?
Locked him out.
Sorry, I didn't realize we were locked. Thank you, Gina.
Thanks,
All right.
Gina.
10:01, we're rolling now. We've been on, I never did go out.
Ouch.
Would you like to call for public comment?
Oh, yeah. We'll begin this HR update with a public comment. Caitlin or Barb, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 listeners. Do they have any public comment for HR update?
For our 5 attendees, I have given you the ability to unmute if you have any public comment that you would like to give about the HR update. I believe that is a no.
Did you say there is one or there isn't any?
Nope. None.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being on. Go ahead and begin your update.
Nothing for labor relations today. Number 3, employee evaluation. We did have an employee at Renew who is requesting an extension of the leave without pay. If we need to talk about that further, I would recommend that we go into executive session.
Yeah, just maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just some details.
Yep.
And is that going to be disciplinary or just evaluation?
Evaluation.
All right, we'll go into executive session again at 10:03, coming out at 10:08 for job applicant / evaluation RCW 42.30.1101G. Again, returning at 10:08. It is 10:08 and we are out of executive session. The decision to allow HR to move forward was made.
Thank you.
I don't think we can make a decision in executive session, so we need to come
Oh,
out.
yes.
So,
Yes.
yes, I'm in
You're right.
favor of an additional 30 days, extending that employee without pay.
So am I.
Kevin?
Me three.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
Nothing under personal disciplinary matters today. Position management. Last Monday in PMR, Public Works brought forward 2 positions, assistant engineer reclassification and a new position of development review engineer. Wondering if the board is ready to make a decision on one or both of those positions.
They had both those in their budgets, if I remember correctly. right?
They did, yes.
Yeah, yes, maybe forward.
I'm a yes.
Rob,
I didn't like them.
you're a no.
Kind of a, yeah.
So hearing 2 yeses.
Well, though I want to, I guess, discuss this.
Yeah, I'm looking at them. I gotta remind my brain why.
One was a reclassification of
I was going down,
an
right?
engineer, but
I didn't like that because.
I had some concerns about that too.
Yes, so it was a reclassification of the assistant engineer, removing the supervisory duties of that position. Supervision would go to John Brissy. And
I guess
then-
I am struggling because I don't understand why it wouldn't just stay at an associate engineer. There's not really a good reason to be operating as an assistant engineer So I don't know the move. I can understand wanting to pay more than the associate, but then why not just increase the wage, which clearly we're not getting any candidates for the engineer, so the wage probably needs to be going up anyways,
Yeah, the
which would
person,
then bring the assistant up, which would then bring the associate up. So I would rather see that move versus just changing to the assistant engineer and changing everything for the person. That's what it seems like to me. I guess that's been my holdup on it.
yeah, I think that the person has been doing the duties of the assistant engineer since our previous engineer left employment with us. So, and she's getting out of class pay to do those duties. So again, they want to, the associate position, archive that position. However, backfill with the secondary position, the development review engineer position that will be housed at Development Services. And then move her to the work permanently, I think, to the work she is currently getting out of class pay for.
Yeah, I just haven't been able to keep up with Public Works.
So but she'll continue to do the work, but it was still a pay cut. Because it'll be an increase from what you currently had prior to taking over the assistant.
Because you're removing the job duties, which
Yeah,
you should be getting.
supervisory duties.
Right. So currently she's getting the full out of class for the assistant engineer, which would include that supervision. So she's getting the full scope, doing the full scope of the work. They don't want to keep her keep that position as a supervisory position. So then that wage would decrease because those duties would then not be included. But Rob, I do hear what you're saying, that
Like a year ago,
But-
she was supposed to be an office engineer, which would then separate the conflict, essentially, which didn't really matter to me on that either, but she was going to be an office engineer focusing on the small projects, right? The sidewalks, the trails, the paths, the this, the that, helping fill in to the other stuff. And then that, I guess, never happened. So then she stayed as an associate. And then now she's working out. It's just kind of like, just weird. Hard to keep up with.
yeah, and I would encourage the board, if you're not,
Let's hang on, let's hang
Yeah,
tight on this one
that
then.
you have more
Right.
discussion with the department, because they can answer those questions a lot better than I can.
Yeah, which I have. I've been talking to them, but I don't know. I also don't, if you have somebody managing, I don't want to pay out a class longer than we need to also for duties not being done, so. We just keep moving positions for people. It's like
Which-
a county issue.
Which is not best practice.
No.
Best practice is
Now
to have create a position and then hire people who qualify for those positions.
I'm looking at some of our.
So was there ever an assistant engineer previously?
There was an assistant engineer, yes. Andy was an assistant engineer and doing the full scope
And Muhammad was the assistant
Muhammad.
engineer with a PE,
with a PE.
which ideally, in a perfect world, that's what we would have, is
Yes.
2 PEs.
Correct.
Why, Ephrata can have 2 PEs, but Grant County can't have 2 PEs, I can't quite understand. We have 10 times the work going on.
Because Ephrata took our 2 PEs.
Well, who's that on?
Yeah.
But we also have 10 times work going on, which makes you wonder there too. Maybe you didn't want those 2. I don't know.
Okay, so it sounds like we need a little more discussion, so we'll bring it back next week.
The other two agree?
I'll agree with that.
Holding? Okay.
I'd like the other to agree, yes. Sorry.
Okay, so we'll hold the assistant engineer for more discussion. Development review engineer,
I think that one needs to happen.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
yes? Okay. The department know that that one can be moved forward. Okay, item number 6, budget finance compensation. The compensation study, we are meeting on a weekly basis. A question that the committee that meets in-house are struggling with answering the question, what is the goal? What is the problem when it comes to compensation at Grant County? And what is the goal? So my question to the board is, what does the board want to see out of this study? Is it purely, let's get the comp study done and find wages, or is it to clean up job classes, which would then, and job families, which would incorporate the restructure of job descriptions across the county?
Well, I would like to clean up the job families, clean up the job description. And then we know we have some elected officials and department heads who come to us frequently. And we're always adjusting and readjusting what's going on. And then we have some that don't come to us. And so when you look at the budget, you can see that some are higher,
Right.
There's a disparity between some offices and departments and others, and I think it's just leveling the playing field and making sure that everybody is looked at. So if we have a clerk in one department, or, say clerk or office manager, because they have a very supportive elected official department head, and then you have another clerk or office manager in another department that's getting paid lower, it's just balancing that out. Maybe their duties are the same, maybe they're not, but I don't think it's fair to the employee when you have an aggressive leader that's always changing. And I think once we get it done, that we just kind of leave it, because this going back and forth, it makes it difficult, because like Rob said, we're kind of catering to one. It's been unique because of kind of the situation, the circumstances that came about because of it, but
Yeah. So in doing that, that would postpone the actual comp study to get job descriptions built, rebuilt, cleaning up the job classes accordingly, and then we would have to do that first, and then they would be able to run comps. But right now, we're working on some job descriptions that are 20 years old because they've never been updated by the departments. So the recommendation from Compensation Connections is to clean all of that up, all of the job descriptions, job families, job classes, and get that data secure, so when they do go to market, it's actually what it is. But it will postpone the end result.
How far?
I don't know that she gave a timeline, but the goal was to be done by the end of the year. And it's gonna be extended into that, into next year. So it just depends on how long it takes to do
I
it.
would rather see that happen.
The cleanup?
Yeah.
well, I think that's part of the problem, is that, we have some older, maybe not updated.
Then we can't adjust positions for people anymore, because then it gets all messed up again.
And I think that's what Cindy was describing.
Yeah.
Earlier, which is the problem, right? So you create a baseline and then move forward from there. We also asked the company what their experience with other counties has been. What do you see other counties doing? Wage study or a cleanup of job descriptions? And she said that a lot of counties that they've worked with already have their job descriptions cleaned up and have a decent structure. So they are able to do a market study. But ours is the opposite. We don't have a good foundation. We don't have a good structure in place. Like Decorah said, job descriptions haven't been updated in 20 years. There's a lot of them that are missing. We just don't have job descriptions for. So that makes it difficult to go out and search for positions that are similar because we don't have anything to compare to.
And it sounds like we need to clean up first.
That's their recommendation.
Yes.
I would agree. They're 20-year-old job descriptions, that doesn't work.
Not good.
The 20th.
And if anybody complains, update your job descriptions more often.
Were the three of you invited to the elected official meeting to review this topic?
I was.
I wasn't.
Okay.
On the second? Oh, in the first. Okay.
July 1st.
I don't have the details. Maybe Cindy you can share, but
I'm looking for it. It
I
was
just
sent
knew there
out
was
by
a meeting
Kim and
scheduled.
Joey.
Yeah, maybe beneficial if one or all three of you attend and get their input as well. Okay.
Give us more, give us more. I don't care what it costs.
Okay, I'm gonna forward this to,
Give us more. You're over the budget. We need the people. Give us more.
well, I think we just need to, I would like to see.
I think that
That's a good outline.
departments and offices need to align with the county mission and values. And having you participate in that meeting could help. Having one of you participate, or if not all of you, help with the electeds.
Tuesday, July 1st
At what time?
12 o'clock. I sent that to you. I will forward this to Barb and Caitlin so she can give it on.
So at this point, I'm hearing you say, as a board, to focus on the cleanup with compensation connections before doing the comp study.
Yes,
That's what I
Caitlin and
think.
Barb, I just sent you an email, just didn't even put an FYI, just the meeting is July 1st, Emergency Operations Center, 12 o'clock. Yeah, I think that's part of our problem, that we keep saying, oh, this person
It's
is,
that,
this position is
what I call
created.
leapfrogging. Yeah.
Yes.
This position, you know, a clerk, and I'm going to use clerk not to minimize it, but a clerk is a clerk. And even though job descriptions or some of the duties may be a little different in each department, the base work is still being a clerk and doing the duties. And what has happened over time is this clerk is given more responsibilities, so then they need more funds because of those duties, and then the next department sees that job description and says, oh, but we do this too, and we do this, and it's just this constant leapfrogging, which gets us out of whack in the,
And then
in
we
the
have
families.
others that are just sitting there because,
Yeah,
again,
so I think a
I think just
cleanup at the advice of compensation connections would be helpful.
I think we will be surprised on some, we do hear that employees were hired to do one thing and then they're doing something else.
Okay. Thank you for that guidance. Item number 7, recruitment, county administrator. We do have, I think, 7 new applicants that Dan is doing his review on as we speak.
Okay, and Dan did share those last week with us. Are
Those
ones
were
where-
that was the first grouping.
Oh, we have another.
And then
seven.
we have another 7. Again, not all of those might pass to move on to you, but he's got some more that will probably come your way in the next couple of days. So watch for those. Given the ones that were forwarded, were there any that you were interested in that? And if we're going to talk specific people, we may want to go into executive session to do so.
Okay. might just have some little notes on. I don't know if I saw one or two. Yeah, I'd probably like to see the whole group, like the second batch that comes through.
Okay, before, okay.
I'd really,
How about you, Kevin?
Yeah, there was a couple that I thought were worth looking at, but
Okay.
I would agree.
Rob?
I like maybe one, but that's not enough to pick from for me.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll send you the next round and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I would definitely like to keep it open.
Yes.
yeah.
Do you have any bites on the engineer position?
We received a couple more applications, but they
No
didn't have
Ps.
Ps.
Okay.
Yeah, not qualified. Okay. Nothing under item 8, which is benefits. Item 9, other policy. I sent the 100 series policies for your review. We've had an opportunity
You
to
mean all these right here?
all of those right there. And that's a small stack, Kevin, so.
I haven't had much time
Okay.
for reading pleasure lately.
No, I like how you highlight them and leave them, I mean, have the different coloring.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
The changes.
The changes,
Yes.
yes, they are track changed,
Yes, thank you.
that red line document, so
Yeah, it
you
makes
can
it
see.
faster to kind of get through and see what the difference
Yep.
would be.
And under the title of each section of the policy, it'll say best practice. That is Lexipol's data and best practice that of their recommendation. And then, of course, there is agency information, which is policy we already have that have been uploaded into the Lexipol policies. And then any track changes that are made on either of those. That might help you work through those and understand them better.
Did I get that paper?
I
They
think
would
you just have to print
been-
it.
Emailed to you.
Oh, I
Of course
didn't
there
print it.
is.
Haven't looked at it. There you go.
There you go. Would it be more helpful for you if I printed
Yeah.
them out and handed them to you?
This time of year, print, yep.
Prints.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good. 'Cause I
You're
saw
good
it on your-
emails?
Yeah.
Okay.
Winter, I'll do the digital. Summer, no.
Fair enough.
My brain's like popcorn kernels.
I will print them and get them to you. Policy. Annual leave policy. Gina reminded me, we talked about this.
We did, we were going to add the, and then the board was curious about other companies.
Yes.
I just added
Okay, there was something else this morning that we talked, when we were going over this, that I added that. Nope, there was something else. I don't remember. Sorry. Didn't leave myself a very good note on what we needed to talk about annual leave. So we'll come back to that one if I remember. Sorry.
It'll see if I can pull it up here annually.
This
That's
bad
fine.
boy will print, then I'll be good.
Okay.
But
And then
usually it doesn't.
the last
It'd
one
be the employee, it'd be under employment.
is background checks. So the counties, each department is different on who does background checks and whether we do them. And at this point, some departments do them on their own. Renewed does their piece because they have vulnerable adults and children, so they do a separate background check for that. The sheriff's department has, of course, their lengthy background check. Fairgrounds, because again, workers, maybe with vulnerable children and adult, we do a criminal background check for fairgrounds. So currently those funds for that come out of HR funding. However, best practice is to all new hires go through a comprehensive background check. The county has not ever implemented, to my knowledge, a background check across the board. And we want to start having that conversation with you. I do have some information
I think we should.
for you if you would like more reading material, Karen. It's short. I kept it short. I tried anyways. On why background checks are important, how they can help an organization, and the different types of background checks.
I think we're not doing them, we're crazy.
Yeah, I've always been a little surprised that the county doesn't run background checks, but then it does impact finances because it comes at a cost.
It's $40.
So in your,
One lawsuit costs a lot more than that.
correct. So in your packet that I gave you, I do have a couple different quotes. Our provider currently is a little cumbersome to deal with. And they're running at about, on average, about $75 a background. So we went out and got some quotes from a couple different organizations. And I think that we can probably do better financially by switching providers.
Would it be appropriate to make the applicant pay for that background check? Has that been done?
Most organizations
Usually,
don't.
yeah, if you want to know,
Yeah. Employer pays for it. Price of doing business.
I was just thinking that would eliminate people from making an application if they
Yeah.
can't afford to pay it.
Well,
Right,
and we
eliminate
would only,
everyone, though.
we would do the background check only on those who
That
we
you're
wanted
gonna
to
hire.
offer a position to.
and I believe we were written up from the state auditor's office. We did a background check on one individual, but I think she had a couple different, either her maiden name or married name out at the fairgrounds. So we.
Yeah.
And then,
And we
We're
have
actually
financial
called-
positions that do handle money, that they should be doing mandatory background checks. Best practice is to do them on hire and then every so many years.
Yeah, probably
criminal
wise. I
background
mean,
check?
you got check fraud in your background, probably good to know if you're gonna be in accounting or handling a check.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Okay, so we will work on policy to do that. Does the board have any, anticipate any concerns with other electeds or department heads taking exception to that?
Well, always,
Maybe taking exception
Well,
not doing it.
not having to implement.
Not having to go through that step.
Okay.
I think it should be a countywide policy.
Yeah,
regardless
that's
of
what I
if they like
think.
it or not.
I agree.
They can hire whoever they want, they just can't pay them.
That is true. And so then the question comes, who pays for it? It will come at an expense to the HR department. Do
I would
we
just bill each
invoice
department.
it out to the departments?
I think so.
Should be part of the employee hire.
And if they say, Daryl might be the only one that doesn't have additional funds because he ended the year one time with $18. But everybody else should have, because it's funny how people, I think I can find money in my budget for this. So crazy when they want something, they can find
Yeah.
money in their budget. So they should be able to find money in their budget for a new hire.
And implementation, of course, I'll put a policy together, get it to you for your review and subsequent approval.
Are these all different companies? Is this
There's-
Enidol and Just the Facts?
They're-
Different?
They're two different companies, yeah.
Do one of them just offer where we could use all the same company but you just like, Renew has different things, so you can like, yeah, I mean, this and this and this for this one and this and this for this one.
I think both of these companies can do that. I just wanted to give you
Yeah, I would like that.
a couple different
You know, what I
ones.
can see is, of course, courts have already kind of been trying to say like, oh, we aren't managed by the county, we're a separate branch, blah, blah, blah. So I can see them saying they don't need to do this, but I don't know. My argument is that if they get a lawsuit, who's paying it? You know, the county's paying it, not their branch of government. Their branch of government can't even support themselves, so. Anyways.
Add a thought.
Yeah, the only other thing that's a challenge right now is some departments don't want HR to run the background check. They want to do it on their own. But the Fair Chance Act, which is a state law that just passed, does require that we give everybody kind of an opportunity, which is why we wouldn't have anybody go through a background check until they're given an offer of employment. And best practice is to ensure individualized assessments of any criminal history that is on the report, which my recommendation would be to have a third party who's neutral in the hiring process review and do that individualized assessment and it not go to departments. We have had departments come back with criminal background check and the elected official said, I don't care, hire him anyway. That's not being unbiased. So just putting it out there as a suggestion when we do.
I think that there's always a leniency on that, you know what I mean? Like if it's 15 years ago, 10 years ago, then, most places like 7 years is doesn't matter, but that would be, if it was 2 years ago, then I would understand. If it's 3 years ago or what it was, depending on what their job duty is versus what it is.
And if we're going to be doing background checks universally, there has to be a process for individual assessments, which does go over those things.
Yeah.
And takes out the feelings part. I really like this person. I know it was 2 years ago, but they won't do it again. They said so. That doesn't work for us, right? So we have to create a process for somebody like HR to review the background check to say, this is our assessment. We are going to use a criminal history or we aren't. The Fair Chance Act in the state of Washington does provide for people with criminal histories to work in places that don't deal with cash, vulnerable children or adults. And there was a third one, but so we can make that determination and give our recommendation to the elected official or department head. I just want to say that so that we can build it into the policy, because that's kind of the second piece to doing background checks, so somebody has to evaluate it.
Yeah, I think that's the way it should be. But then they're not making that decision.
I think we evaluate it in HR.
And that does.
But we need a standard.
We need a standard,
Like,
and
okay.
there will be challenges, I anticipate, with district court judges and rule GR 29. So they own that process, and if they choose not to do it, then again, HR can still run it, but we would need your support in that. So.
Just trying to think of a nice, but I agree with Rob. The county will pay for a lawsuit or anything that's done. If there's any wrongdoing, not district court. So I feel like they need to work across the board.
We will work on that policy and get it to you. And I still don't remember what I was going to talk about policy annual leave for, so. Oh, yes. Thank you, Gina. I knew we talked about it this morning. So, annual leave, we have recently had an employee request, they're planning for retirement, wanting to take their annual leave, approximately 2 months of annual leave prior to their retirement date. So county policy is to pay out any open leave or annual leave when someone departs. So they wouldn't lose it as long as they don't have more than 240 hours. So the request and this current request, and I know it has happened in other departments without anybody knowing it, but that the department has allowed an employee to take extended periods of leave, a month, to burn down their annual leave, that they would get paid out anyways. And so they're without an employee for a month or two, and then the person retires, not ever coming back.
A new home better situation, and we did not allow it. So I think our standard is if they want to take their 2 months of leave, great. They do have to come back. We've done that with sick leave too.
Correct.
Somebody wanted to do the sick leave and then I'm just done.
Correct.
And I'm like,
So that is, yes, that is our
we
practice.
had them come back.
But it is not in policy.
I think
So
we should put it in policy.
I think that adding it to I would recommend adding it to the policy that if a department can be without an employee, somebody in that position, department or office, for 2 months. I have a question, who's doing the work? And is that a hardship on the employees who are left, who have to then pick up the work? We're not filling that position while that person's on their annual time. So I'd question, is that position really needed? Plain devil's advocate. But I would highly recommend that they come back 2 weeks, fulfill that 2-week obligation in order
I
to
think
help
we've
get
even had
things
this a day or
in place.
give it 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, yes, because we request, and best practices to request that employees allowed 2-week notice. So I would say 2 weeks, come back, help the department get things in order, or office, get things in order for that transition out.
So we've had employees that will give us their 2 weeks and then they're gone. They're taking their vacation, they're taking whatever. So literally they give us their 2 weeks and they're not in the office for a transitional period or a close down.
Yes.
It's created some issues.
Yeah, and the risk is that they are while they're out on leave, they remain on our medical. So if anything happens within that time, our medical does pay for it. And the county continues to pay the premiums on that.
So if somebody were to terminate, just give their 2 weeks notice today. They're out for the next 2 weeks. So would that be your termination date if they're not planning on coming back? I just feel like I think there are some employees that we have encouraged to leave just because of situations like.
Our policy allows for that.
On others, when here's my 2-week notice, I'm on vacation now, and I just feel like we need something, a transition, but like you're right.
Yeah, and when somebody resigns, right, they're leaving the organization, they're leaving their work, they're getting the benefit of being on medical, getting all of their insurances and benefits while they're out, and the organization is getting nothing in return. And that's where the challenge is. Usually a 2-week period allows for the organization to retain all the information, to create processes for there to be a transition, for recruitment to happen. But if somebody's gone for an extended period of time, all of the benefits are going to the employee, which is fine. However, because they're leaving the organization needs to get something in return. And by allowing somebody to be off for 2 months and then to leave, there's no transition period. And there's no mutual gain by either party.
So if this particular person knows they're not coming back, why couldn't they sign something saying they're not returning, and then we can start recruiting, at least start looking for somebody to fill their position?
Because a lot of times the department doesn't have the budget to afford 2 positions. So if Decor's gonna be gone for 2 months, the HR department doesn't have the budget to go out and recruit and then hire somebody. We also don't wanna hire somebody and say, oh, we'll give you the job in 2 months when it's vacated.
And an employee can revoke their resignation at any time in the state of Washington.
But it'll make it easy then.
That's the other part too.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why 2 weeks is kind of that soft spot. It's the period in between both, right? If we're allowing somebody to be gone for 3 months using their vacation, we want to recruit. We can't actively do that. The department's still paying the position, but not getting any work in return.
Right.
And a lot of our departments are union positions, which means that there's a potential that union work is going to management, and that's not allowed either.
That's not allowed either, so.
Yeah, so it's very sticky. Again, putting it into policy is going to be our best defense, and then having a process that we do uniformly.
Consistency is,
Well,
Yes.
and, yeah, we've had some issues.
yes. Yep. Okay, so we will be working on that. You'll be seeing that policy as well.
So it'd be annual leave and medical leave, or just annual leave?
It would be under annual leave. We
Okay.
would capture it, I think, all in that policy. Okay. I think that is all the joy I have for you today.
Well, thank you.
Do you have anything for us?
If we only have one whole,
I think next week I'm gonna bring you a stack of paper for you to read.
Fair enough.
Let's do it.
Fair enough.
it's all in blue and red and black, so it's pretty easy. I don't know when you print it, did it capture those?
Well, it's easy to do when you have time to sit down and do it.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
can peruse through it.
The time, it is time consuming.
But the good news is that we had to read them too.
Yes.
So we're all in the fun
Well, and there's
together.
one
all
that
in
was in
the-
policy.
Along
about
with the committee who's
social
reviewing them.
media, which I enjoyed seeing.
I'm not complaining, just I need more time.
Yeah, I know. If only.
As we are busy taking our leadership harassment.
Yes.
Harassment and,
Your annual training.
Yeah,
yeah.
I should have never did that last week when we were here at our meetings.
Oh, no.
I was trying to do it in between. It's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a bad idea.
Yeah, you really have to pay attention.
I gotta go back.
Well, and you,
I know.
it's better to read than to listen to them talk and read. I'm still trying to figure out how to speed that little video up.
If you can figure it out, let
I've
me
been
know,
working, I
because,
haven't. Because the
I
other one you can
don't
speed up
think-
it up.
Yeah.
On the NACO, but.
yeah.
Laserfish was like that. You have to pay attention to the module because they have little quizzes. And so I was doing something else, and then I was like, a quiz. And of course I had to retake it because I wasn't paying attention.
Yes.
But I like how they have quizzes during each module and.
Well, if you're not focused on it, I can guarantee you're not gonna get through it, because
Right.
you have to be focused.
Has the board heard any concerns about the training modules being pushed out from anybody?
I haven't heard nothing.
No, I think we're trying to take them so that somebody doesn't complain about it, or like, well, Public Works sent and they said they're actually really good. So they've started
They
taking
like
them.
them.
But we were just joking about speeding up the.
So yeah. Ask
No, it's
principal
fine.
if there's a way, but I haven't found it if there is, but I can ask them. Yeah. Okay, well, if you have nothing more for us, we will get back to Tyler, always.
Tyler. We will go into
Thank you.
recess until 1 PM when we are back for a clerk, wait, I have a 12:30 meeting. At 1 PM, we're back for our clerk's office update.
Hey,
Good afternoon, it is 1:01 PM and we are here for a clerk's office update with
Cheryl.
Cheryl. Well, welcome, I've heard your name a lot. I think I've only seen you once before.
Yeah, we just kind of pass. Just a couple of things that I'm gonna bring in kind of updates, I guess, on. We have a position open in our office. And if you know of anybody that speaks Spanish, because it's our interpreter position, it closes tomorrow, and we either get 3 or 30. There's no happy medium, and this time it's 3. So, county has really good benefits, and clerk's office is a great office. So spread the word. And we're a little low on people because we had one of our clerks have a horse flip over on top of her and broke her pelvis.
That sounds
So
fun.
we're a little short-handed, so we're a little, yeah, so she's been out 4 weeks, but doing good. She will be back.
Wow.
We're moving forward on our going paperless. We have Judge Hill operating in the courtroom without case files to try it out. And luckily, we started early so that we can find where the roadblocks are and before this all happens. And he seems to be doing really great. So we're hoping that the other 2 judges will follow suit. They've been really good with working with us, trying to find the areas that we might have some problems. And of course, the clerk's office has to maintain the records for forever. And so we want to make sure that those records that people go to find after we go paperless are readable and accessible. So we're having a little trouble with how people are filing their documents. There's rules out there. There's filing rules. And we kind of had it in a gray area for the last 40 years. We've kind of let things slide a little bit on measurements, but we did find that once we go paperless, the e-filing and everything, there's a reason why we really need to crunch those measurements so that they come out exactly what the rules say. And so some of them are having difficulty with culture shock. We aren't having too much trouble with pro se people, but we are kind of having trouble with some of the attorneys. Old habits die hard. And I can definitely attest to that because I was here before computers, and giving up my typewriter was really hard for me. But we did kind of figure out something that we thought would be helpful for people. And we're kind of trying to make it even partially fun. So I'm going to give you what we give them so that you can join in on our fun. We have kind of a cheat sheet for people when they come to the counter, or offices that continually don't follow the rules and we send things. So I'll give you one. And these are a little ruler, and they're the ones you can wear around your wrist.
I love it.
And
Thank you. Look
it
at
doesn't mean that you can play at your desk the whole time.
But
And
Rob will be doing that.
mm-hmm. Thank you.
And so, like I say, we're trying to bring it to people's attention and make them realize that they have to start filing correctly, because now with the attorneys that are on Zoom and they're faxing everything, and they fax them to their defendant, and then their defendant, scans them and fax them back, they get reduced to where it's hardly readable. And you have to stop and think that if we're going to scan them, and this has to be the official record forever, it has to be readable. And so we have a couple of attorneys that don't listen to us, and I've had the judges mention in court to them that you really have to start doing this. This is absolutely, when we get down to the date, then we're not gonna have any give. I mean, we're gonna start sending stuff back. We're gonna start rejecting things at the front counter. It's hard for us to control what happens in court because the attorneys are on Zoom and they have somebody from their office or something present the documents up to the judge. They don't present them to the clerk to be okayed before going to the judge. So we're still working on getting everybody on board. So, but we're doing good. And everything's going really well up there considering. So those are the only 2 updates I had for you guys.
I think this is very clever.
Should have logoed the back. There you go.
I know, I didn't think of that. I'll tell Kim.
Here's for that old tack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Grant County's working with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But no, we figured that way, you know, people can have it at their desk, they can put it on their wrist, they can, and makes people remember, you know. For the first 10 minutes after handing them out, we had to tell girls, you can't be slapping each other with them, and you know, you got to get back to work. But, you know, it's just a little fun thing because, you know, when you're telling somebody, gee, I'm sorry, I can't accept your pleadings, but here, have a pretty color ruler. It makes things go better. So, but Kim is at conference, so she's out all week. She's at the clerks conference down in Clarkston, down in Kelso, down on the west side down there. She's brainstorming with all of her people that she connects with and coming back hopefully with some good ideas on what it's like to go paperless, and that's going to be a culture shock for me. I am hard copy through and through. I don't even read a book on an iPad. I got to have the hard copy. So, but if you want to know about a typewriter, I can tell you everything. So do you have any questions or things that I can let Kim know that you might want to know about next week?
No, that's
Nothing for
great.
me.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys have a good day.
You as well. We will go into a brief recess until we're back at 1:15 p.m. for public defense. Good afternoon. It's 1:15 p.m. and we are here for our public defense update with Fred.
Well, good afternoon.
What's going on?
Well, same old stuff over and over again.
Oh, you're having more and more fun every day.
Yeah. Our caseloads have been slowly rising. You know, we're hopefully they quit that and we can
Summertime.
get back on top of our caseloads a little bit and comply with the standards. It's really just been the last couple of months where it's really put us in a little bit of a bind. Luckily, I don't know if you saw, I don't know how you do the consent agenda anymore, but anyway, I had a contract on and I hope you sign so we can get a new lawyer started on first. So, not that solves all our problems, but it certainly helps. Anyway. Other than that, I mean, I don't know too much. I did review my budget the last week or so, and while some of the line items are a little wacky, certainly well within budget, doing well there. And, so moving along. Anyway, any questions for me?
How do you say that name for your new public defender?
Luchin is how he pronounces it. Sinet Luchin. Yeah. He's done defense work 20 years. I mean, he's been He's had a 20-year defense work, done every kind of case, pretty much. The reason he's wanting to come here is he took a job in a prosecutor's office in Stevens County about a year ago, and he can't stand prosecuting, so he.
Oh, so he's coming, he's
So
coming
he's
back to the other side.
so he's making a move, yeah, he wants to represent clients and have a live client. And so luckily, we have some contacts up there that,
Was he a prosecutor up there?
yeah, just for the last year or so. Yeah, yeah. I think he was part of the fallout from Spokane, when they had some issues up there a year or two ago. And decided he needed, good benefits and all that sort of thing, so he did that. But didn't care for it very much. So.
I can understand if he was in Stevens County, why he didn't like it.
Yeah, sounds like they're having a little bit of a difficult time up there.
They are.
So I'm happy to take him though, so. And have him help us out a little bit. So yeah, other than that, that's kind of where we're at right now.
I'll be here next week, July 1st. Or
July 1st, he won't be necessarily here, but he'll be receiving cases on the 1st. And believe it or not, we've got some lined up for him.
You're ready.
Yeah. We're ready for it.
You will not be bored.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he'll hit the ground running and earn his first check at the end of the month, so for sure. Yep. Yeah, so and he replaces just this. In fact, it was yesterday. We had an attorney go out on maternity leave, so she'll be gone for. What is it, 4 months now or something?
I don't know, they seem like they can extend it for
12 weeks.
Yeah, she'll be gone plenty, so. And she plans on taking it, so. So, the timing's good to have somebody. But we needed him anyway, even if she didn't go out, so. Yeah, so that's the story on that. Yeah, other than that, people are working away and doing their thing. And I don't have anything else, I don't think.
You need anything from us?
That I can think of.
Yeah.
Need some lawyers. That's
Well,
what I tell you every
I don't
time.
exactly have any of those in my back pocket.
That's what I tell you every time, but that's what we need. And we've got them, we're budgeted for them, so it's.
Oh, somebody's saying they
It's a
do all
matter
their
of-
recruiting of lawyers in the south?
That's what I
Yes,
heard,
he was telling us
southwest.
that.
Who's doing what?
Another county is doing all their, Chelan County.
County's been getting all their attorneys from the south and southwest. They can move up here.
Of like the United States, not the state of Washington, but yeah.
Well, I know Jeremy Ford's the director up there, and we visit pretty often. I ask him about him.
So apparently they all want to move up here.
Yeah. Well, he's been losing, and he's really upset. Both King County and Clark County have cold called his lawyers, and they're trying to recruit him, his existing lawyers, and he's pretty upset about it. He's been making some noise. So I'm glad he's finding somebody. So,
Well, that's from around the street. I can't remember who told us that.
yeah, I'll ask him about that. See what he tells me. Yeah, I visit with him probably monthly, but just because we often have stuff between the counties, that kind of thing. Anyway, and we get along well. And that's where I'll go up and have lunch with him sometimes, because our juveniles are in detention, of course, in Wenatchee. So his office is a block over, so when we're up there, sometimes we touch base that way. Anyways. Yeah.
Anything else for Brett?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Pretty easy, not too exciting, I guess.
Probably be bad if it was exciting.
Yeah, in my business, if it's exciting, it's usually not great news.
All right, we will go into a quick recess until 1:30 when we are here for prosecuting attorney update.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. It is 1:30 p.m. and we are here for prosecuting attorney's office update with Kevin McCrae. Hello.
Oh, hello. All right. First thing to start with, Caitlin asked us to clarify this. When last year, when planning indicated they needed a bunch of extra legal help with a specialized attorney, we went out. This was with Chris. We went out and found one for him. And my understanding was Chris was adding into planning's budget to cover that. Caitlin said they've been paying those bills out of the general litigation fund. I don't know what the right word is.
Probably miscellaneous general government.
Yeah.
Caitlin, is that where they're coming out of?
Yes, they do normally get paid out of the miscellaneous general government.
Okay, and so she was mentioning that that was getting a little high for that fund, and my understanding was when we talked about this last year was that that was going to come out of planning's budget. And so Caitlin asked me, what do we do? And I said, we probably talk to the commissioners because they're in charge of the budget. And so I'm bringing that to you. I don't know if Jim has a position or a thought or.
And Chris did not budget for it. Of course, it wasn't something that we previously, it wasn't a previous best practice. So there was, so no number to budget against or towards. Happy to do a budget extension and take on, that accrual to date. We do have, over $400,000 in professional services in the planning budget that we likely will not be able to spend this year. Given, just timing of grants and things that have come through. So I think that we can, again, absorb that from the commissioner's office into a budget extension into planning, if that's what we decide to do. The question came up, how much more? And I told the prosecuting attorney that, it's hard to guess, but if I had to guess, I would say, 25% more would be necessary to get us through the year, given, what I can see in front of us.
25% more of the
400,000. In addition to what has currently accrued, which I think is roughly 50, I think.
Oh, okay. So
yeah. So
not a whole lot.
If I had to assume, I would say 75,000.
Okay.
Now, the bulk of that has gone towards working on developer agreement in and around the solar developments, the numerous solar developments in the county. And then we had made a SEPA determination of significance and then a consequent determination of non-significance for that significant development out north of May Valley for Stredwick Lands LLC. And that was took a lot of time and effort, but was successful. So.
Okay. So if we were to transfer $50,000 from, if you have it in your budget.
I do.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot, I don't think, planned in miscellaneous general government for that. Transfer it over and then from here on out, move it over. What would we need? A letter to the commissioners? Send it for a transfer. And we can.
So letter from me to the chair.
We're trying to clean up our budget. Do we initiate the letter just because we know?
Emily is on, and now Emily was part of this original. Emily, is that how you feel that would work, or Caitlin? That'd be the best for you?
Well, typically for the large transfers, it is just something that's on consent that the commissioners approve. But I think after talking to Emily, we just needed to know how much it was and where the funds would be coming from. So if that's outlined in Jim's letter to the commissioners, that should be sufficient.
Do you have the amount that you spent to date?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
otherwise we could get that to you. Okay, if you don't mind, just a quick letter, and then Caitlin, it sounds like Caitlin will help take care of it. And sorry, we didn't.
So I can outline year-to-date with then an estimate of what we would anticipate.
Well, and I think from, yeah, further on out, yes, then
Okay.
it'll just go right to your budget. It should go to your budget for planning and not ours, but this way we can backfill the miscellaneous general government.
Okay, so I will send a letter transferring year-to-date, and then any future invoices that Rebecca generally sends me to approve, those invoices should then just come to Development Services so that we can then pay.
Yeah, and planning is a current expense. I mean, that's just my thoughts, to keep it clean, keep it in your budget. Kevin, Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, which we can pay out of professional services. So,
Rebecca's online.
Okay.
No less.
Okay, so I think if that's okay.
sounds
we'll
great.
wrap.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks,
Very
Kevin.
good, cleared up.
Thank you, Jim.
You bet.
Yes, for joy, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rebecca, have you heard from Leslie? Is she going to join us or?
I have not heard. I will follow up with her. Give me a second.
Okay, I'll move.
Sometimes she has a hard time getting logged on. We
Yeah.
may have to send her a link.
So I'll move on to another topic real quick. So I have been sued in the Eastern and Western Districts of Washington in my official capacity for the state passed a law about privilege and clergy, where the clergy would be required to report any sex abuse they happen to come across, even in
I'm sorry, Kevin, I'm going to hop in here. Do you want to go into executive session? Or are you fine doing this outside of executive session?
Right now, I'm just giving an overview that's
Okay.
nothing particularly remarkable, so I'm okay. And so the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, has sued the state and all the prosecutors in the state to basically have this declared unconstitutional. And they've asked for some damages. I don't think there's a big risk of damages because we haven't really done anything with this law. It doesn't even come into effect till the end of July. The risk pool has said they will accept coverage, at least for now, on this. So we're sending it over to ECL, and we're working with all the other counties, all the other county prosecutors to try and resolve this litigation. So mostly, I don't really see a whole lot of money damages coming out of it. For the county. I mean, that could change obviously, and I'll let you know if it does, but at this point, it's mostly, is this statute constitutional or not? And that's really, mostly the county prosecutors are just waiting to see what the state does. So
Well,
that's
and
kind of where we're at.
WCRG sent that to me, so I
Right.
did forward it to you,
Mhm.
and they said they would help defend this.
Right.
McFarland and Evans Criminal Lackey. So,
Right. And I was just on a phone conversation with them at ECL about it.
okay.
So just to let you know what's going on. Since I'm sued in my official capacity, that means the county's technically part of it. Yeah, so
You're not alone, it sounds like.
no, it's every prosecutor in the state got sued. So they're asking for an injunction that we not enforce that law and theoretically some money damages, but we haven't done anything with it yet, so I'm not quite sure where that would come from. But so more to follow on that, I'm sure. Any questions on that?
I'm sure I will, as it
Hmm.
trickles
Not
through
yet.
this.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
more to come.
More to come. And then here this afternoon, we have a summary judgment hearing on Ramos, which is the lady who drove her car off the end of Road 9 flipped it and ended up dying. So we'll see where that goes this afternoon. Just to update on that particular case. Trying to get it dismissed. Now, Rebecca, do you want to drop into executive session to talk about the other stuff?
Yeah, so, and I apologize. It looks like Leslie and I had a phone conversation and then I'm not seeing a follow-up email, so I may have just dropped the ball on that. I apologize. So I did just email Leslie, so hopefully she's still available. I'm not sure. But we can definitely, I think, go ahead and have at least we can at least have some conversation regarding the issues.
Okay. 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Let's do 10 minutes.
Can we watch it? Can somebody watch it as we go and see if Leslie comes in, put her in?
Caitlin can do it from upstairs.
Okay, yeah. So if we could have a 10-minute executive session for litigation, please and thank you.
We're going to go into executive session for 10 minutes from 1:40 PM to 1:50 PM for litigation RCW 42.30.1101I. We're just going to move backstage.
Mr. Chair, I move that we send 2 letters out to City of Ephrata. Letters that Rebecca has emailed.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. The 2 letters from Leslie and Elamo will be forwarded to the City of Ephrata.
Thank
Anything
you.
else for your update?
Not for me. Rebecca, do you have anything else?
Nope, that is the only thing.
Unless you had any questions or other topics.
Looks like we're looking for your replacement, Kevin.
Mhm.
Probably can't be fast enough. I thought we would be able to move a little faster
Yeah.
since there are only 3. But it sounds like the Republican,
Already digging their heels in, yep.
well, I think it's not the chair, it's the little spin-off party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We're
Thank you.
working on it. As soon as we can move, we'll move forward on it.
thank you.
All right, we'll go on recess until 2 PM and we are back with our commissioner meeting. Good afternoon. It is 2 PM and we're here for our weekly commission meeting. I will now call the meeting to order and begin with the forum for public comment. 3 minutes per person, 15-minute time limit. We have 1 person in the audience and 1 online. Jerome.
Jerome Weavers, Moses Lake. During the executive session, I was standing out here at the end of the hall listening,
Yeah,
and my hearing's pretty bad.
and it was pretty clear.
It was pretty clear, so you might want to
We know that, yes.
take that into account. Okay, that's it.
It's true.
Thanks,
That's why we have people lawyer, we have executive session, they go out and they're like, oh. We probably need, maybe we should play some romantic music.
I don't know.
Thank you, Jerome, for.
You're
It's a speaker in a false ceiling. So it just goes right over the wall. All right, we have 1 call-in user, Carrie Stockton, I believe, but it could be an alias.
I'm gonna guess, Carrie, you don't have any public comment. Carrie, do you have? Carrie, do you have public comment today?
Mr. Chair, I move that or do we need to close the public comment?
No.
Or not? That we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Agenda is approved. Do we have any correspondence, letters of support, or that need response? Okay, commissioners, any letters or emails that need response?
I think we're working on a couple from
Yeah,
down south.
Teresa responded, I think you were CC'd on the response from the health district on the sewage issue. Anything new? Dialed in.
I thought there was a picture.
Yeah, did you not get the pictures?
I talked to Stephanie yesterday about those.
There's a hole.
They've been working on it, and they think they have some of them. One of them remedied, but the other one, they're still.
People just dumping them in a hole or what?
No, it's a house, just a
They're
minute.
just running out over
Did
the
you not
ground.
get the picture? I sent it to you.
Yeah, it's just covered with wood.
Yeah, well, that's their,
Their catch basin.
Just rolling it out towards the road.
Yummy.
so I'm trying to, that must be on the,
130.
but, well, I know the neighbor complained that their gravel, like in their back, they can't walk on it or utilize it because it's just wet. I don't know if this is a neighbor, but it looks like it's on the corner.
Yeah, it's
Or-
on the corner. Oh,
This is a person.
in between. I see a porta potty there.
Yeah, she said it's in their backyard, so this might be, I don't know. It's even into their backyard and
Does he have one?
desert area. And they have flies and odor, and they can't utilize.
I believe the odor.
Yeah, but that looks like it's more in the front of the house than anything, because looks like there's a concrete driveway right there.
It could just be everywhere, I don't know. I don't know who's,
Well, either way.
well, I
you
think
get
James
fixed.
Curry took this picture, so he's probably not in the backyard. He sent it to me, James.
Overflow in the front yard of 204 Fairway. This is the one that they found somebody in Oregon. They sent
Okay, and
a
I'll
registered letter to last week. So hopefully that will get taken care of.
We'd be digging a really big hole, so I know somewhere else other than my backyard. Well, that's the only response that I can.
I don't have anything else. I'm going up to Grand Coulee on Thursday to meet with the hospital up there.
Okay. Any roundtable items? Any walk-on items? Okay. After this meeting, we do have just a tourism update. And then just reminder number 4 is a request to rescind a previously approved item, the permit application process that Public Works had submitted a couple weeks ago. And then if we want to hold the commercial lease or not. If we do want to hold, how long?
I think we need to hold that
Say, give it a week and then we can.
at least a week, maybe.
And then the adjustment
2
to,
weeks?
yeah, I would do 2 weeks.
We need it.
And then the adjustment to item 18.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 18, but on number 17, holding that for 2 weeks. And number 8, the commercial lease with Mobert Investments for renew. And number 18, Bates Counseling Service for renew, for mental health. Instead of doing 6 months, we'll do a 1 month for $5,000.
Something else, or was it just those 2 items? Is there anything else we had to cover? That was it? Okay. I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Discussion being, is there any other item that we missed? Just the recension, but that's an approval to rescind.
Okay, yeah, that was.
I don't see anything else. Any other discussion?
That was it.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Approve consent agenda items as announced by Commissioner Carter. Put in my Walmart order for the Tens unit.
Okay, there's 2 of them that they have in stock. One's smaller.
One's like this big. I think I need a bigger one.
Well, they had the big one. Did you see that? Probably gonna get in trouble for shopping on my computer.
This one's like an arm size.
So you have to be down here. It's like,
Got my pen. Can I have yours?
It's kind of a crappy one.
That's okay.
I was serving.
You're shopping for the health and wellness of a fellow commissioner.
Well, that thing looks kind of
Speaking of
cool.
health and wellness, make sure you identify doctor and don't smoke.
Oh. I don't smoke.
That was quick. That was way quick.
Well, you know, when you stop, what smoking cessation?
Cessation,
Cessation. That means like.
to help you quit smoking.
It's bad to smoke.
It is bad to smoke.
What happens when you stop?
Well, your lungs can recover, but
Well, in the airplanes, do you want smoking or non-smoking? It's like lightly charged. You gotta-
you want non-smoking in an airplane.
Oh, yeah.
When I first started flying in P3s in the military, you could smoke on the airplanes. And you'd have pilots smoking cigars and everybody on the crew smoking cigarettes. Oh, it was,
You're like, open the window.
it was bad. Yeah,
I
you
need
can.
oxygen, I can breathe.
Give me the oxygen.
We had a hole in the bottom of the airplane. Once you got below 10,000 square feet, 10,000 feet, you could open that because you weren't pressurized, and that acted like a vacuum. So,
Pull smoke out?
yeah.
We are very spoiled with people that don't smoke anymore, so now it's pretty,
We used to throw stuff out of the airplane too, since there's, oh,
it's just.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You like egg drop test, right? You wrap it in eggs and see who survives.
it was worse. It was much worse than that.
Restaurants and bars and stuff,
Yeah,
people
we
used to
had
be able to
a lot
smoke
back in the
everywhere.
Military back in the
No,
day.
now
It did.
it's nice. So-
Well, at least until you landed, and saw the damage you did to the airplane.
I think it's a rodeo, it's just lit up. I'm just like, I don't know, okay, everything is blowing right around here, yes. You're gonna go smoke. Somewhere else.
Always got me at McDonald's. We did not have one of those signs that says like no smoking in the drive-through, and people would come through just absolutely smoking cigarettes in the drive-through.
And the roller window down. or
Yes.
closing your window.
Yes, and it was horrible. No, because that's the process that you guys are rescinding.
process is that?
Special event permits.
Oh, that's right.
You just get a permit, we don't wanna know about it, we don't wanna hear about it.
Well,
250, I got mine on my phone. That's a cool one.
After I sign that, I'll forward all of that information to Rochelle, and then she can start putting that logo and stuff in
This one looks like the closest
advertisements and
thing on
everything.
my house. We don't really have waves, but.
Yeah.
And you did have a walk on, you were like, we have walk on.
No, I did not have a walk-on. I was gonna talk about stuff at roundtable, but I missed roundtable, so now I won't.
We're here, what do you?
Oh, I'm meeting at 3 o'clock with the PUD to talk real estate stuff, so. Just so you know, I'm gonna go. I already did. They were upset with me.
really?
Well, they were like, really? Well, we don't know what to do. And I'm like, but I talked to you about what to do. So we're gonna talk more about that.
I'd rather help them out with their easement issue than give them that land for a smoking deal.
Yeah. Maybe I should bring that up.
I mean, we're trying to work with them. They didn't like the trade for the property for the building
It
idea.
didn't even come up in the agreement, so, and they said that the building, so the building was worth way too much.
I know.
So
Their future expansion, what's it worth to them?
I'm like, well, what'd you do? Did you have an appraisal done? Well, back in 2020. Well, that doesn't, it appraised high. Well, I think we'd need a new appraisal.
That's not good. Sorry, 6 months.
That's so 2020.
We're holding that one.
Pause.
2 weeks.
Yeah. And then the adjustments on this one. I was like, did I get
We
signature?
did have a good,
Don't you worry. I was
You were watching?
a good GCCM pre-submission meeting. We had 8 different general contractors show up.
They planning to do that with the fence so you can't see in there, like Spokane?
No,
Oh.
I mean, we'll probably have a fence for safety, but we're not hiding anything.
I
So
like
You gotta give those people a share, have dinner or something.
something to watch.
that's all right.
They could maybe use your cooler. They seem to have a cooler issue.
Some of these blankets might be cheaper just to buy blankets and not try them. It's a sleep center.
Oh,
That should be over for what, a couple weeks? And this one.
Yeah. June.
Sunday.
you're gonna get some emails from a few more folks too, so, about that other stuff, about Tyler.
Oh,
Good. What do we do on this one? Just write the,
Well, so you've approved it for
as
1 month.
modified.
Yes. So are you?
I'm just gonna initial that and not that.
Did approve it with the
With
modification that you wrote
modifications.
in.
Yeah. Barbara,
so technically we can approve it with the modifications that you wrote in there.
You've approved it.
Yeah, so we can just sign
When
it.
does he sign the contract though?
yeah, I wouldn't sign the contract though, Barb.
Right, no.
No, not till yeah, so, oh, no, so yeah, you're right, you wouldn't approve it, you have to just totally hold and not sign anything. I was reading something else when you.
They
guys were
approved, so the
They
motion
approved.
was to approve the contract, but to modify it to be a 1 month, not to exceed 5,000.
Yeah, we've already talked about that.
That's
Yes,
Tony's,
yeah.
but we don't know if Rob Bates will be signing that. So
Rob already-
Does Rob Bates accept that?
So,
I think they should just hold it and not sign anything. Or did Rob Bates already sign it?
I don't think
well,
so.
if he did sign it, it would have been that 6-month one, not the 1 month
I think
one.
we just do it with the initial change and then make sure it gets approved and then I sign the contract after
But then they're gonna have to come back.
with a different contract.
Renew
Just put your
doesn't
line through it and see if you
have
have
any money. Then you know, it's just gonna have to bring the whole thing
So
back.
we're gonna be having that
Yeah, we're gonna have to just change the dollar amount. But if we extend it for longer.
1 month,
What day do we
$5,000.
end at? July 31st?
So we're banking on that Renew is gonna have money, and if they don't, then the board will have to make another decision on the same thing.
Correct.
Correct. Just giving us time.
Well, it might not be renewed, it could be the opioid. The opioid has a lot of money in it. Or maybe Renew will just do services, I don't know.
We're just trying to find some different funding besides our bank account.
Because this hat hit is pretty fast. Like a week or two before. A week.
You guys met with Dell today, didn't you?
Yes, sure. When did they sign that? So how long is that going to go on? Did you, anybody know about this until?
This?
Yeah, Tony, I didn't know, we were not getting, would have been, we'll let Tony know, next time something like this comes.
Is he talking to a supervisor?
If he did, I don't recall. He may have mentioned something about it when I was over there, but
And he would be communicating with the supervisor, correct?
I didn't get anything.
They could have shot it down to all of us. Not a big deal when you're losing somebody in your office.
Is that VA? Veterans?
It was happened last week, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think he might have mentioned it last week about their funding being cut. But it's the first one.
So it's for therapies and services.
Gotcha. Federal funding. Would have been interesting to know that. I could have brought that up with the NACO deal because they were talking about that. Some of the counties were affected.
I don't know when it.
Well, we have another one we have another veterans meeting this week. And I've actually got a couple of legislators going to that
Well,
one
they
for
obviously
NACO.
must have done it, where did they have their veterans meeting, because they voted on it for the veterans meeting? Or what's the date on the very back? At least that would have been.
June 13th.
So, and this is the therapeutic, the veterans therapeutic benefits or person,
Counselor.
counselor. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, so I think the VAB meeting would have been, what, June 11th? So they would have voted then and got the request in, I think on the 13th was when I got it, so, yeah, so then it wouldn't have been on consent until today.
Call Anthony tomorrow and get square on it before the meeting Thursday.
Need a
Sign in the right
reprint.
place.
Yeah.
You could just sign in the right place and I can white out your name.
You got a busy afternoon. No naps today.
Oh, Bates hasn't even signed it. typically they don't see us. We don't hear them. Or did you change it where we needed it to be changed?
Thanks for that text, by the way. I showed that to Kevin and watched his head just go. That's expensive.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, they're expensive. You know how much it is just cutting them down, so. He's gonna send me the number though.
Yeah. Good.
I messaged the 2 tree guys I've used and both of, well, one wasn't sure, he just knew it wasn't local.
Yeah.
And then Derek said that he had to use them out of there.
Might have to go a different direction.
That's super changed the partner, you changed it.
I think it's on like the second page. Maybe even the first one.
Oh, right there, it's in with the normal.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I did it. But
You should initial it. Yeah, well, that would be good, you have to sign that, so you.
Cool.
All right, well, it is 2:24 and the commissioners meeting will recess. We will be back in session at 3 p.m. for a DMO update. Master plan briefing for tourism.
Digital marketing.
Destination marketing
Oh.
organization.
Gotcha.
Destination, digital destination, digital destination.
You could have gone DRMO, Defense Reutilization and
I
Marketing.
used to walk around.
Ooh.
We have everybody promoted that needs to be. Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. and we are here for our 3 p.m. meeting with Beckwith Consulting for Tourism Master Plan Briefing. With us today, we have Tom Beckwith and some of his staff online. Welcome.
Great, thank you.
You have Jennifer.
Jennifer Hackett.
Yep, just Jennifer. Are you backstage on yours?
Yeah, I was hiding, but I'm moving it now so that way I can share the,
Perfect. All right. So you want us to go? All right. This is kind of an introduction for you and kind of a briefing of where we are on the master planning process. Next slide, please. This is the calendar schedule. I've highlighted there with the arrow that we're the 24th of June. So the red box is when we will be back to see you. We can come back anytime you want, but that's what we programmed to do. And then we expect to be somewhere around October to be having a full draft, begin the process of doing that. The green boxes are when we're checking in with Rob and Caitlin about our progress and anybody else that needs to be in tune to that about what we're doing and how we're moving forward. The blue boxes are public open houses, and we're probably going to use a hybrid to be, you can be here in person or you can tune in online and see just what we're going to present. And we'll organize those as PowerPoints so they can stay up on your websites afterwards. The yellow boxes are just holidays, and so we're working around what those dates are so that we don't get sidetracked. Next, please. We're defining what geotourism is. It's really kind of, it's saying that there are 5 different kinds of tourism based on what people's interests are. So on the left top column, we're saying there's heritage, there's cultural, there's ecotourism, environmental tourism, if you want to call it, agritourism, and then recreation tourism. So they all come here, but primarily for different interests. And that doesn't mean that any one tourist has a primary interest, they won't engage in other things while they're here. But the reason for coming and the reason for attracting them are based on these kinds of interest groups. And so on the top right, what we're saying is, okay, if we know that and we identify what their issues are and who they are, then your outreach should target them. And so that we're providing them the kind of information that would bring them back more often or potentially make them spend more money. And down at the bottom, of course, then that wraps into your tourism plan. What kinds of facilities you're going to provide, promotions you're going to provide, organizations you need, projects that you need. Stop me anytime now as I go through this if you have questions. Next, please. We've held workshops so far. First one was with the stakeholders. That was LTAC and the Tourism Advisory Committee and Moses Lake Roundup. Then we also had separate workshops with your arts and cultural groups, with the agencies, with athletic tournaments, with chambers of commerce, and with trails and hiking. And these individuals are the persons that participated either in person here or online. And we've written up what their conclusions are, and we'll post that, we'll summarize that and composite that and post that back to you in about a week. We're also conducting 2 surveys simultaneously. On the left is a visitor survey. We want to know, based on what their interests are, where they went, what they saw, what kinds of information they would like to have and where they get it, and what kinds of projects or facilities would be important to them. We also want to know from visitor surveys where they come from and how much they spent and where they stayed and why they decided to come to begin with. On the right is the resident survey, and some questions are the same. We want to know how your residents use your facilities, but also we want to know how they're engaged in tourism. Are they employed? Do they volunteer? Do they own facilities? So we have some sense of how that contributes to your economy. And in the resident survey are some questions about what they think tourism should be now or in the future. Should it be a bigger component of your economic development? Should it be the same? Should it be less? Now, one thing to point out about these surveys, they're self-selected. They're not statistically randomly based. So in the resident survey, it depends on who's interested and whether or not they're willing to complete a survey. It takes about 10 minutes for the residents. On the visitor survey, it's the same thing, but it's a little bit more comprehensive. It's not the largest survey we've ever done for tourism, but it is a fairly comprehensive survey. Now, to provide some incentive for both of these, whoever fills out the visitor survey can choose to be in a random selection of a gift certificate for $250. And the same with the resident survey. Generally, about 80% of the people that complete the surveys want to be in the lottery drawing. So we know that there's an incentive for doing that. Next, please. We're doing promotions now to encourage that. These are kind of the handouts on the left for the visitor survey and on the right for the tourism survey, but you can see the resident QR code is also there at the same time, and the advertising for the $250 gift certificate. Now, Rob and Caitlin have done a good job of distributing these. We may augment this with our team during the summer to pick up people who are at campgrounds and other areas where it's not particularly easy for them to be intercepted at a visitor desk or some other central location. Now, during our stakeholder workshops, Fish and Wildlife said they would provide their information, and so did the BOR, about what visitor contacts they have at their facilities. So that's a much more comprehensive database, and we'll fold these in together. Next, please. Now, one of the questions could be, what's your immediate market area? And we usually do that in travel time. And so the green is 30 minutes, then it goes to 60, then to 90, then to 2-hour travel time. You can see you can get as far east as Spokane, as far south as Umatilla, as far north above Okanagan, and you can barely, if you're along I-90, just get into the edges of Puget Sound or King County. But we suspect that your tourism has a much bigger, broader base, and we're hoping that the visitor survey will give us some indication of that. The one weakness will be your Canadian tourists. The Canadian tourist has dropped off markedly. We've seen that I live in Skagit County in LaConner. We've seen that, the drop off. We've also seen that in Blaine. So we will probably be a little bit hard pressed to come up with some accurate indication of what that volume is. But based on past surveys we did in LaConner, we know there are Canadian tourists that come on a regular basis. And they used to come to LaConner and then go over to Port Townsend and over to the peninsula every year and visit the same facilities every year. So, while we may underestimate what their volume is, I don't think we underestimate what their potential impact is for this part of the state. Next, please. So I've done some population projections. The State Office of Financial Management does this for the Growth Management Act. They do this about every 4 years. And I've grouped them into 3 categories. The primary market, the bottom in the blue, is within 30 to 60 minutes from Ephrata and from your major cities. And you can see it's going to grow from about 200,000 people between 2020 and 2050. The orange is a secondary market, and that expands about into 90 minutes. And you can see that there's a growth there, not quite 200,000 people. And the expanded market gets almost to Spokane and almost down to the border. And then the gray area up on the top, that's the 2-hour, but it does not get to Puget Sound. If you can see in there, your immediate market in blue is not as significant as being able to capture all 3 of those markets together. So if we put all 3 of those markets together, then we're looking at about 300 to 400,000 more residents over the next 30 years. And the question would be what percent of that you're attracting or capturing and why? And what will the survey results tell us about what things could be done to increase that? And also the survey may tell us what the market potential is beyond just that geographic zone. But bottom line is you need to grow beyond just your immediate market. Next, please. Now, one of the things we've done is comprehensively identify and map all the different assets that we think are tourism-based throughout the county. So the graphic on the left, and we're not expecting you to read these in detail at this point, but on the left there's all the public lands, all the different agencies that own that, and you can see that's a fairly significant amount of land along the top, along the lakes, in the middle around Moses Lake, and then south as we start getting down into the Tri-Cities. On the right are habitat areas. Next, please. On the left are wildlife zones. I'll look at my own notes here to read that next one. And on the right are the hiking and climbing assets. On the left is the biking facilities and assets. On the right are trails, that's hiking trails. Next, please. On the left are your boating and fishing. On your right are your water trails along the Columbia and on the lakes. Next, please. On the left are your hunting assets, and on the right are your birding assets. By the way, the biggest volume of users that come to this part of the state are birders, people of wildlife viewing. About 80% of the population does that. They stay longer and they spend more than any other asset or activity, including hunting. Next, please. On the left are your wildlife viewing areas with specific, well, you jumped ahead there. Wildlife viewing areas. On the right are your agricultural crops and facilities. Some of the things we're finding is that people who are ag tourists like to come and stay on the farm, help them pick the crops, help them learn how to cook different dishes, and then actually they're kind of like farm B&Bs. That's a growing trend on this side of the state. Next is your ice age floods, and your characteristics and some of the landform features from this are, you probably have more of these kinds of features than any other county in the state, and it's something to capitalize on. And on the right are your off-road motorcycle trails and assets. You don't have as much as south of Moses Lake, but you do still nonetheless have some significant assets. And I think the very last slide on the left is your picnic and camping areas, and on the right are your camping facilities. Now, while we've mapped these, as we get further into the analysis, we'll be attempting to project what the volumes are that each of these assets generate and how these assets can be promoted in such that we can increase the capture rate of what you're attracting.
So what you're saying is there are more bird watchers than off-road?
Yeah. The bird watchers, about 80 to 90% of the population will bird watch, or wildlife. I would say wildlife rather than just bird watch. But if you're looking at the volume or the percent of the population that does off-road, it's about 8 to 12%. Now, one feature we'll also be looking at is what happens with the change in demographics, not only in your market area, but this area. And we're going to age.
And you said bird watching is what percentage?
Between 80 and 90%. I call it wildlife, not just bird watch.
I'm really struggling with that one. I had no idea.
One of the base sources of information we use is called the Recreation Conservation Office. That's the central state clearinghouse for all recreational grants and studies. They do a comprehensive survey called a diary-based survey every 6 years of residents throughout the state. The last one they did had 6,000 participants. And they break them down by age group and they break them down by activity. And then they project the percent of each of those age groups that engages in about 80 different activities. Then they also determine how many days of the year each of those activities do. And we use that to project your volume. And I'll have those kinds of statistics next time we meet. At the same time, they also do an expenditure survey of what each of those enthusiasts, how much they spend on a typical trip. And those that wildlife view spend more than any other activity on an average day. And there are a greater number of them on an average day than any other activity.
These are only, this survey is only for public lands?
For all activity throughout the state.
Concerts will blow this out of the water. So you're obviously not looking at concerts?
There are social events in that survey. But it doesn't individualize it. So we can't pull the gorge activity out of that. We'd have to look at the gorge by itself. But the statewide survey indicates what percent of the population goes to those kinds of activities. Not specific, but just in general. Now, one advantage of that survey base is it's age-based. And one of the issues that's going to affect tourism is how we age over the next 30 years. And so certain activities are going to grow proportionally. Wildlife viewing, trails, what we might call non-strenuous activities, if you want to call it that way, versus the percent that go into off-road or go into extreme sports. Proportionally, it will be lesser. So one of the things we want to look at is how the volumes change in those activities over the next 30 years. So you're kind of ahead of the curve and knowing what prospects will potentially expand and what will potentially stabilize.
Did also the age of those taking the survey skew the numbers? Because I know there's people that will not take a survey.
All surveys.
I'm laughing. I'm like, I'm looking at my family. Probably in my family, probably the older ones are the ones that would be willing to take a survey. The others are not going to care less if they participate in the survey or not.
For the surveys that we're doing, the visitor, yeah, that's self-selected. But the RCO surveys are controlled by area. They have a quota for each county, and they're controlled by age group. They have a quota for each age group. It's as reliable as surveys get. You know, there isn't anything that's absolute, but it's fairly reliable and fairly predictive. And they've been doing it every 6 years. I actually designed their first one in the year 2000. So they have to do it every 6 years, and they have to update their plan to continue to get federal money. So there's a trend there, as well as just the last one was done in 2022. Now, your real question is, what percent of those activities in those age groups you capture. And a lot of your outdoor recreation things are boating and fishing, and those are fairly, some of that is fairly younger age, but boating is particularly middle and up.
Yeah.
So some of those things, the expense of your toys is going to attract older people.
Boating, fishing, hunting.
Yeah.
Off-road. I had no idea. I knew they came over and hiked and did some climbing, and had no idea bird watching was the number one.
Number one.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the demographics that I know, and it would be off-roading, boating, fishing, camping.
You're capturing a significant piece of that age group and that activity. But when we did the tourism plan for Kittitas, we found that, and we looked at the capture rates on all their different activities, and wildlife viewing was relatively small capture rate. So in their tourism plan, they said, we're capturing what we would expect in hunting and fishing and camping and so on, but we're not capturing what we think we can get in wildlife viewing. So their tourism plan began to emphasize, how can we increase our capture rate in that activity, because it had the greatest potential increase of the overall strategy. And you may see the same thing here. If you're capturing everybody that boats, then the question is what you're not capturing is some of the other activities, and whether you have the assets to do that. Does that make sense?
I guess. I think a lot of it's just depending on who you're,
Yeah, who's taking the survey?
who's doing the survey. Again, I will say, my district doubles on the weekends. District 3 will double when we have a 27,000 event, camp,
Right.
concert.
Yeah,
For some
between the
reason,
camping and
we
the
don't
concert,
always
probably over double.
People on the river.
capitalize that. And then I have
Right.
a lot of West Side landowners that own homes along
Vacation
the.
homes.
We are completing a off-road plan for Chelan County, and we did a similar survey of every off-road group we could throughout the state, plus those that had participated in the survey. And there was a fair percent from Puget Sound that come all the way over here to off-road.
Oh, yeah.
And so I expect the same thing would be true here once we identify who they are.
Like where they go.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of analysis yet to do. And obviously, there are going to be some significant findings as we further along.
Great.
Any other questions or any other suggestions for what we're doing?
I'll be interested to see the rest.
I'm sorry?
I'll be interested to see the rest when it's finished.
Right, right. These are always interesting, and to us, these are always fun plans to do.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Then I will see you later in the summer, and as we get some of the analysis done, we'll be posting it. It'll show up on the website, so you can keep track of what we're generating. And we can meet anytime you want to review what we've come up with. We don't have to wait until October.
Do an off-road one, go to the mostly sand dunes and offer a free helmet or something. You probably would have people that would take the survey.
That's true.
This takes time.
We also do, when we do city park plans, we survey the kids in the schools as well. And so we have to offer them the same kind of incentive, so it's $50. And where I said that adults, 80% of the adults will get into the lottery drawing, 99% of the kids are in the lottery drawing. All right.
Just offer them McDonald's and they can get in the drawing.
There you go.
Yeah, that's about.
You really wanted to get
Well, with the trends going their way, $50 may not buy you much.
the
of
true
it.
travelers, you gotta get them in a concert and give them a $200 gift card or.
That's true.
right there, and they'll be desperate for money. They'll be looking for anything they can get their hands on,
Sure.
especially on their Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning for a concert.
Anything else?
That's what I have for today.
Thank
Anything
you.
for you, Caitlin?
Thanks,
You're
sir.
good? All right, well then it is 3:22 and we are going to go into recess for the week.
All right, people, thank you very much.